What we do here is go back. What we do here is go back.
And there we go. I think we're live, possibly. Are we live? Let us know in the chat box. Good evening, everyone. I can see there's lots of chat going on, so can't wait to get started and chatting with you all. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. Is Saturday, the God knows when of July, 17th of July, 2021. And it is Scorchio Tremendo here in the Southwest United Kingdom. It's very, very warm. I do apologise if you can hear the fan noise. Got a ceiling fan on with the studio lights in here. It's kind of insane. We've hit around about 30 degrees here today and yesterday. We're not used to it here in the United Kingdom. Our weather patterns are very varied, let's say. We're used to it being kind of wet, miserable, grey, and around about 15 to maybe 17 degrees. That's our average. So when we get up to the heady heights of 30 degrees, all hell breaks loose, stuff stops working, PCs overheat. We're just not cut out for it. Very much like, I guess, in the way that places like Spain, the US, Canada as well, you've got a very different kind of situation over there. So you do get more extreme weather. Most homes, I guess, in the US have aircon, depending where you are. Obviously, if you're in the kind of Arizona region, that sort of arid place, you're going to have it. If you're California, etc., yeah, you're going to have it. Pretty much most of the YouTubers I've seen, if they're in America and they're vlogging, they've got the air conditioning on. Even humble Linus up in sunny Canada, he's got his whole house air conditioned. So there must be a benefit to it. Unfortunately, it hasn't really caught on to us here in the UK. So we rely on older, more traditional methods of keeping cool, such as removing our clothes. That's a predominant one. Opening a window. If things are really, really hot, maybe opening up the doors. And if it gets really bad, then you never know, you might even have to break out the fans. That is pretty much the limit here. Every now and then we get a heat spell, and occasionally you'll get emails coming through. Basically, everyone in the tech industry and DIY industry suddenly have got masses of stocks of portable air conditioners at exorbitant prices. We have actually got an air conditioning unit, but it's in the shed. It's been buried in there for years. We've never needed it since we bought it, to be honest with you. So it's ended up in the shed, and it's probably full of spiders. And that's another thing that we don't deal particularly well with here in the UK, and that is big spiders. I don't like them very much. Kath is okay with them. Angel doesn't like them. George doesn't care. But I'm pretty sure Fred is still down in this corner. Massive spider. Never caught him. He's in here somewhere, lurking. Maybe if he gets hot enough this week, he might actually come out for a little sip of drink later on. And hopefully you guys at home and, well, wherever you are, if you're maybe at work, skiving, shame on you, but thanks for watching. If you're at home and you're enjoying yourself on this Saturday evening here in the UK, or whatever time it is, whatever country you are, please do join us for a cold beverage, because I'm definitely going to need one to get through this stream tonight. It is El Scorchio.
Our nice clean water.
And we have got, yes, of course, as Kath just said, we've got our nice clean water from our filter now, which I'm going to pollute with some ice cubes. Sad, but unfortunately needs must when the temperatures get like this. And when the temperatures get like this, there's something that we all have to take into account, and that is overheating computers. Overheating laptops, mobile phones. We're not used to it. The laptops aren't used to it. So we need to know some ways of keeping things cool. And there's actually, the more I've looked into it, there's so many different ways that you can go about keeping your PC or your devices cool. Now obviously there's those paid for measures which involve you going out and buying things such as fans, cooling paste, fan sets. We'll be looking at some more expensive options later on in the stream. But there's tons of things you can do. But there's also a lot of things you can do which cost absolutely nothing, which can really reduce temperatures and make a massive difference. So we will be going through those in the stream tonight. We'll also be looking at individual coolers, going through some of my recommendations, some of the things I would actually recommend not doing, talking about things like fan configuration for intake, exhaust, possibly moving AIO coolers if you're using an AIO. Definitely moving an AIO is a really, really good option, especially as things get a little bit warmer. If you've got a front mounted one in the summer, that is definitely not a great idea. Yes, Kath?
Is that too dark?
Is that too dark? Am I too dark?
No, it's because I turned that one off. But...
Okay. I think it's all right. Maybe turn the light round a little bit, please. I think that'll do.
And then we better...
Ugly Bob, thank you for the super chat. For those of you who are new here and don't know what the hell's going on, you're in good company. The flashing light that we had just down there is our RGB disco ball, which is basically programmed with IFTTT. And when we get a super chat come in, it goes through all the Google supercomputers, can't even talk properly tonight. And yeah, it triggers the switch, basically. It's a very old thing, very rudimental, works very easily, but it impresses some people, so I like it. I keep it, and it's a nice visual representation of you chucking your hard-earned cash over in our general direction. So thank you very much to Monsieur Bob of Ugliness. And what did he say? Oh, yeah. I'm not going to repeat that. Thank you, Bob, for that bit of vital information. And actually, my laptop is lagging already. It is rather warm. That is a side effect of heat. Now, for those of you that don't know, a very quick lesson in computing as like a kind of computing 101. So computers generally run on electricity. I don't think I know of any computer that doesn't, other than possibly an abacus. There's probably something that runs on water somewhere, but for the main part, all electric devices, laptops, PCs, mobile phones, tablets, they run on electricity. Electricity is not a particularly efficient means of actually running things, and it generates heat in the waste process. Also, you've got things in there which need cooling, so you've got things like your processor, you've got your graphics card, you've got your RAM, you've got endless RGB sticks, and there's all sorts of things in there. Hard drives, they were actually quite problematic years ago, especially if there's larger drives in kind of tight, confined spaces even. And of course you've got things like your M.2 drives now, which do run rather toasty regardless of the temperature. So when the ambient temperature rises, everything inside the PC also rises, and it's not a direct limitation. So if your house is 10 degrees warmer, that doesn't necessarily mean that your PC is going to be 10 degrees warmer. It doesn't quite work like that. So it works on the principle of whatever is your ambient surrounding. If you've got fans, for instance, it's an easy way to describe it. So a fan is blowing in air. If it's taking in warm air, it does cool very slightly, because obviously as air is moving, it's moving, and the fact that it's moving actually cools it. It's a cooling effect. They call it a wind chill, which obviously those who live in colder countries, when it's winter and it's really windy, they give you a temperature of the day, so maybe 12 degrees, but with the wind chill, if it's very windy, it could be down to like -5 or something. So wind chill can make a massive amount of difference. And that is exactly the same when it's warm. When it's hot, the wind will chill, but not that much. And if it's going into a hot enclosure, hot air going into a hot enclosure, it's a recipe for disaster, or just a recipe for poor performance, lags, possibly blue screens of death, all those kinds of nasty things that us PC enthusiasts just don't like at all. So that's the kind of the broad stroke of it. Electricity is a waste product essentially, and it gets kind of let out into the PC as heat, as we all know. So if you have a particularly hot box PC where, sorry, am I out of focus?
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to. Well, it's got some weird boxes on it.
Oh yeah, I've changed the boxes. Should be alright. Or it was just 1080p in myself.
Dunno.
Yeah, so if you've got a case which has got poor airflow, it's not going to be great. Imagine for yourself, you're in your car, or your parents' car, friend's car, whatever. And if you're in the car on your own, and it's a hot day, you're not moving, there's no airflow, and the windows are up, it gets really hot really quick. Now to compound that, if you've got a PC case which has got a lot of stuff in it, and there isn't a great deal of airspace, or in the car's analogy, there's more of you in the car, it gets a lot hotter, a lot quicker. So what's the first thing you do? Open the windows, or get the hell out of the car. But a PC cannot get outside of the case, at least not easily. So you need to look at ways of getting cooler air into the case and getting that warmer air, which is being created inside the case, you need to get that out of the case as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And ideally, you want slightly positive pressure coming in and slightly less pressure going out. So to give that a really simple terms, if you have a case with two 120mm fans on the front, if you have a single 120 in the back, that is pretty much perfect. The 120s in the front are going to have some static kind of pressure against them, trying to push the air into the case, so they're not giving the full 240 mils worth of kind of power. Much like the 120 on the rear is pulling air out, so it's using suction, and that isn't going to have 120 mils worth of pure suction because obviously there's resistance. So by having more fans on the front, you're creating a little bit of positive pressure in the system, which will help push that air quickly out of the back of your case. That's the principle. So hopefully someone out there is learning something. I'm hopefully learning something as I go. Kath's learning stuff. What have you learned, Kath?
USB Universal Serial Bus.
Well done. USB, everybody, means Universal Serial Bus. You can take that to the bank. So let's say hello to some of you in the chat, because otherwise it looks like I'm being rather... Was it someone says, well, Mike's been tangoed? I have a little bit. Let's go through your chats and say hello to everyone. So Matthew Day, he's got a microwave burger today that needs using up. I haven't had a beef burger in ages. When was the last time I had a beef burger, Kath? I haven't had a McDonald's in, what, months?
No.
Maybe a month or two?
They're not real burgers, though, are they? Like you had those
I like 'em.
goat burgers, didn't you, that Angel got, I think, last.
Oh yeah, we had some goat burgers. They were reasonable.
I don't eat burgers.
Yeah, I love a good burger. Years ago, we used to get burgers from the local butchers, which was really good quality ones, really thick, chunky mothers like that. And then I'd use them in the George Foreman grill thing, and then put cheese on the top. But one of the secret weapons was some strong onion, slices of strong onion in there, and to top it off, some Welsh red mustard. That stuff was awesome. Really love that. Oh, I'm feeling hungry now. Damn it. So we've got Matthew Day with us. Captain Chocky says, how's everyone? I'm rather warm, rather hot. Mark Berry says, I'm great. William Bodie is with us, says Morn. Good day to you. Aletta is with us, says, hello good people of Earth. Ugly Bob, obviously, because he sent a super chat, so we have seen him. Sir Soppy of Bulls is with us, says evening peeps. Kieran Atkinson says, hey hey. How you doing, Kieran? Jad 2016 says, evening. It is. You're absolutely right. John Sullivan says, hi guys. Mark Berry says, it's been a funny week. Better not go down that route. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's been a funny one. Ricardo says, hi Mike, Kath, and everyone. Can't be on stream today. Hitting like button and enjoy the show. Oh, thank you very much, Ricardo. And hopefully you can pick up later on. Aletta says, don't do a dark show. What was that for? Oh, about the lights. Yes, got you. Stuart Cleary says, la. That was singing along with the music, I guess. Captain Chocky says, I was editing a video and had a power cut. Those actually, just going slightly off topic here, it kind of, well, it is on topic because it's to do with electricity, I guess. There's been loads of warnings in the news recently about these solar flares, and I don't mean trousers with particularly large hemlines.
I love flares.
I'm talking about coronal mass ejections. Whenever I say that, it just doesn't sound right. Anyway, coronal mass ejections, CMEs, solar flares, whatever you want to call it, they're a bad thing, especially if they're heading in our general direction, because they interfere with things like the GPS, the magnetosphere around the planet and all that kind of stuff. Just basically, it's electromagnetic bad stuff. Years ago, there was a thing called the Carrington event, which actually, I think it was 1892, 1893?
1859, I thought.
Might have been something along there. It is a long time ago. It is before Aletta was alive.
You still say hello, mind.
Oh yeah, I am still saying hello, sorry. And yeah, it actually melted telephone lines in the United States, which is pretty scary stuff. So hopefully it won't be coming our way, but they keep on saying it's going to come our way, or it's on its way. I read a couple of Indian newspapers, they said it's on its way today. So, it's bloody hot. But I haven't seen any Aurora Borealis yet. Taylor says, was thinking, how's my PC going to survive the heat? Mike answers all. Well, I won't answer all, but I'll give you some good ideas and some suggestions that you can do. There are some actually really, really simple things you can do. But some people, I don't know what it is. There's some things which I assume would be kind of like obvious. I quite often find that people don't think is obvious or have not even thought about it. So if I am teaching Granny to suck eggs, I apologise. But because this is an unboxing channel and we go through, do reviews and give kind of how-to information, I have to kind of take the assumption that everyone is starting from zero and has basically zero knowledge. So for those of you that are slightly advanced, maybe on level 1, 2 or 3, some of this stuff is going to be obvious to you. So yeah, just sit back, relax, have a beer, click the like button and the subscribe button if you haven't already, and we will hopefully get on with it very shortly. We'll finish saying hello and then we'll get on with it, because I feel rude if I haven't said hello to everyone. Matt Gomez says hello. Oh, and by the way, we are only about 250 subscribers away from a magical figure, 60,000 subscribers. Absolutely insane. So yeah, it is a bizarre feeling. I do have to pinch myself every day when I wake up. Just like, I am very, very lucky to be in the position I'm in. And it's all down to you guys, so thank you all very much. Sorry?
I or we?
We, but me is like, because I'm the thing on the screen, aren't I? It's just an insane thing. It really is. If you'd have said to me 20 years ago, Mike, you're going to have a YouTube channel and you're going to have a pretty decent sized following, I'd have probably said, what's YouTube? It's weird how things change. Never take anything for granted. Matt Gomez says, hello, let's go. Darren C says, so hot today I feel like a boiled chicken. That's not great. My PC overheated 3 times today from the heat, says Captain Chocky. You probably noticed already, actually, one of the heat-saving tips is to turn your RGB off. Or if you don't need something on, leave it off. And actually, it's making me feel quite ill not having RGB in the background, so I'm actually going to go against everything I said. Hello, McFly. Ah. Another way of saving energy and reducing heat, turn off the electricity. And then do the opposite and turn it back on. Be interesting to see actually what the liquid cooler registers the water temperature at. Let's have a look. 27 degrees. So it is about 5 or 6 degrees hotter than it is normally in here. Because normally that starts up about 21, 22. Anyway, moving on. Medicare Raymond says, I love unboxing videos. Awesome, thank you. Well, I like making them. Well, I do, but I don't. Unboxing, someone actually said this a long, long time ago when it first started. And they said that basically unboxers are destroying the experience of getting something. And ever since that comment was made, I know what you mean. Because that excitement on your birthday, Christmas, or just when you've got a pay rise or whatever and you've gone and bought something, there is that excitement of it coming through the post, ripping it open and looking through, and then spending the next half an hour trying to work out how the hell it works. Well, that is my job. I'm the one who steps in between that bit of the unboxing and then the 30 minutes that you've lost trying to work out how it works. So you can watch the videos, before you buy whatever it is you're looking at possibly buying, you can work out whether it's right for you or not, and you can learn from my mistakes. And hell, I make enough of them. So yeah, I do like doing unboxing videos. They are traumatic at times, mostly down to my camera, but you can't have it all. And we get there in the end. Sky Stalker says hello. Oh, hello Sky, how are you doing? James
Sky, sorry.
You miss Sky? Kath,
Yeah,
you're a bad person. Go and stand outside. James Miscellaneous says, yo Sky. Good to see James Miscellaneous as well. How you doing, buddy? Darren C says, had to undervolt the crap out of my GPU today. Now that is definitely something which is potentially worth looking at. Undervolting, in some instances, is terrifying to a lot of people. But it isn't actually that bad or that difficult. It depends on what software you're using. Things like Ryzen Master or Intel's Extreme Suite, I think it's called, it actually makes life very, very easy. And a lot of the settings you can actually generate quite simply. Sorry, I'm gonna have to turn my, put my thing on, he says. There we go. There we go. Okay, now we're back. Now we've got some colour in the background. I don't know why, but when you put the bit of colour in the background, it kind of makes the picture seem wider. I don't know why that is. I don't know. It's not wide enough. Look at all the crap I got on the desk. Anyway, so yeah, undervolting, definitely that is something we can talk about and look at a little bit later on. Mark Barry says hello. Kieran Atkinson says power cut again. Here? Possibly. No, not here. Although I have got my UPS connected to my NAS at the moment, so we're all good there. Mac Games says, can this help with laptop? Definitely. Laptop cooling is something we probably should look at as an individual topic. I have already done some videos on how to sort out the cooling on this particular laptop. So if you want to have a quick look at that, if you type Acer Aspire A515-43 and look for the Mike's Unboxing videos, we did videos on how to change the thermal paste.
They go to your channel, they can
Yeah, just go to the channel, you can search in there. Also, what else do we look at for cooling?
You repaste your graphics.
Repasted the GPU and the graphics card.
Oh, it's the same.
And what else do we do? Oh, we changed the RAM. So we didn't really go in depth, but changing the thermal paste actually did have a massive difference. But make sure you get decent thermal paste, because just replacing with crap stuff is not good, doesn't work very well. So, Dutch Jan says, ho hi everybody. Ugly Bob says, bloody hell, dark mode mic, someone has caught the sun. Oh dear, Mark Berry mic has been tangoed, yes. Aletta says it's 25 degrees, cloudy and raining here in Ohio.
That was last week.
Yeah, we were there last week, really. Ugly Bob, 27 and moist here in northeast England. Oh dear. Markovsky says, we take one of our jumpers off. Yeah, that's right. We do have a thing of layering, don't we, clothes in the UK. So you'd have like your t-shirt, then probably maybe a jumper, and possibly a hoodie, or the jumper, then a coat, possibly. Yeah, it's got a lot of layers.
Got dressed for 4 seasons in one day.
Kieran Atkinson says, FFS, that's right. Substation is on fire again, so no power for a while. Again? Jesus.
Fell off the jetway.
David Aitken, another spanner holder. How you doing, David Aitken? Who else? William Bodie. William Bodie says, Darren C, come to North Germany in the summer. People from Spain, Italy and Philippines can't believe it's more hot than where they're from. Yeah, Germany is one of those countries where you would assume that it isn't that hot. I don't know why, but there are certain places that are just ridiculously warm. James Miscellaneous says the sheer heat keeps distorting the camera. No, I do look like this.
I think that was the light going on and off, wasn't it?
Ugly Bob, and then that's the £5 super chat. Oh, what is going on? I need to catch up. Cosmic Space Muffin is in with us as well. Ultimate Tech Hub says 114 degrees Fahrenheit today in Las Vegas. Jesus, that's what? 35 degrees or something? Wow. Darren C. Blah, yeah, we said that. Darren C. Dave Aikens, Ghost Stalker. Blah, 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 Infinite Tech Hub, yes. Welly Bob in Northampton is 25 degrees C. Mild and a tad sweaty still. It's a little warm here. It still is a little bit warm. I think we're temperature wise. Oh, I turned it off on there, didn't I? Damn it. Do you know what? I actually made a video on how to turn off the widget in Windows 10. And actually, I love it. I use it every day. It's one of those things I use probably more than even the clock, possibly. What is the? It's currently 23 degrees here and mostly sunny. Does that say?
Yeah.
Mostly sunny, 23 degrees.
But not for us.
Awesome. Oh, that's for other people, is it?
We have a building blocking it.
Oh yes, true. Yes, it's warm. It's very warm. Tristan G says I've overclocked and undervolted my Radeon RX 6700 XT and it works great. Yeah, that is the. Outlaw Vet, thank you for the super chat of 79 pence. I just wanted the lights. Bless you. Bless you, sir. Markovsky says I thought Germany just had big floods. Yes, they did. That is terrible. I want to say terrible and terrifying at the same time. And I made a new word. It's both of those things. Markovsky, how you doing?
Where's that Greg?
Damir says, hey from windy Zagreb.
Where's that?
Where is the Zagreb? When it comes to geography, I'm an idiot. Well, I am slightly an idiot in most terms, to be honest with you, across a wide gamut of things, but geography is one that I do struggle with. I'm starting to get to grips with some American geography and some European.
And some England.
And even some England, yeah. Even north of Gloucester. But yes. We've still got time.
Croatia.
Markovsky says we need to find the Wizard of Oz and break this weather machine. There are two weather machines. One of them is in
Alaska.
was it Alaska? And the other one was in like Wales or something. There's one in Wales, a weather machine. There is an actual weather machine in Wales. It's bizarre. You wouldn't think it, but there is. James Miscellaneous says, also the storms that passed Aletta are flying over my area now and heading for New York. New York gets all the crap, doesn't it? It really does. Even in the movies. Avengers in New York. I'm trying to think of another one. What's another thing in New York?
Home Alone?
Home Alone. Yeah. Exactly. Ghostbusters, New York. They have some bad stuff going on there. Oh dear. As Afandi Hidzir says, hi to us both from Malaysia. Lovely, Malaysia. We like Malaysia. David Aikens says, summary of today's video. This should be a blinder. Suck all the heat out of your PC and make your room unbearable to work / game in. Got it. Zagreb is in Croatia. Croatia, I bet that's quite warm there. Markovsky says, Harp is a weather machine. Correct.
It was windy there.
Welly Bob says, the hottest I've experienced was 46 degrees C in Athens. Anything over 30 is too hot, to be honest. Yes, I believe. This heat wave has been strange, says the ordinary dude. It's always hot here in Louisiana, but it seems it's been at or below normal temps here.
Ours is like 2 months delayed.
Yeah, it is. All of our weather this year has been a 2-month delay. It's like it's been in lockdown, and it's like now it's laid out, so the sun's come out for a little bit to play.
But not for long.
Not for long. It'll be over. Godzilla. Well done, O'Reilly. Home Alone, yeah. Sammy says, with the Lian Li 2 mesh RGB, I need to put another air cooler for Ryzen 5 5600X, or inbox included is enough. I'm not too sure what fans come with the Lian Li mesh RGB. Is it 3 up front and 1 in the back, or is it just 3 up front? I'm not sure on that one. O'Reilly says, don't have PC and bedroom in the same room. Yes, that is never a good idea. Or if it is, just open the windows.
Says Mike, whose son's got a loft bed and his PC underneath.
David Aiken says, I'm loving this heat. Got some funky pink lines across the body after 8 hours in the sun yesterday.
Is there going to be pics on Discord?
Yeah, pics or it doesn't exist.
See your white bits.
Ugly Bob says, got used to 45 degrees daily in Afghanistan. Oh, that doesn't even bear thinking about. Sexygen, I think I've probably bastardised that name completely, but says, hi Mike, how you doing? All right. Cosmic Space Muffin says, just get an airflow case with good fans. Very good idea. James from Selenius has actually got a really good solution. My solution to PC heat, be poor and own low TDP stroke efficient parts. 2060 Super idles well, and the Zen Plus 2600 at 65 watt TDP is easy to cool using the Mike and James recommended Arctic Freezer 33 or 34. Definitely that is worth looking at for sure. I'm just trying to keep up with the chat here. Mark Berry says, buy a GameMax F15 case, plenty of airflow. For sure, that is a fantastic way of doing it. So let's get into this a little bit now. So obviously, to cool a PC, there's various things you can do. Now, one of the easiest things you can do, if you have got a case like the F15 Mesh, Lian Li, what was it, 215, basically anything that's got a front panel, Meshify, you name it. There's tons of cases, pretty much most of them on the market. They've got a front panel which can be removed. So that's the first thing to do. If your PC needs more fresh air because it's getting hot too quickly, one of the easiest things you can do, take off one of the filtered front panels. Yes, I can hear you screaming already, but Mike is going to get dust in my case. Well, what would you rather have? A little bit of dust that you've got to clean out, or a PC which is too hot? A PC which is too hot can overheat, can crash, and actually degrade the lifespan of the components. So dust doesn't degrade the components unless it builds up to a massive amount. So if you've got a hot spell, take off the front panel. That is a very easy way to do it. If that still doesn't do it, a table fan. A really simple table fan, desk fan, anything like that. Anything, like I said before, that can generate a little bit of wind chill. Even if the room is warm and you're just blowing warm-ish air at the PC, because it's being chilled slightly, do it for yourself. If you sit in a room with your face is hot. You put a fan towards your face, the cooled air cools down your face. So it's simple physics. Air chill equals colder air, colder components, and if the fan is actually aimed at something metal, such as the heatsink on your CPU cooler, the heat shield on your graphics card, anything like that, it's going to help to radiate some of that heat away. So it's going to blow air around all the components and keep them nice and cool. And that is probably the most effective way of cooling your PC. Literally, take a side panel off, aim a fan in the side. We've all seen the memes where someone's got a desk fan and is literally strapped to the side of the PC. And we laugh at it and we go, ah, look at them, they're so stupid. Or someone's got an aircon unit and they've got the hose going straight inside the PC. It looks stupid, it isn't particularly chic, but it does a bloody good job, and it will reduce the temperatures. Just by taking the side panel off, realistically, even if you don't aim a fan at it, you're probably going to lose maybe 5 to 10 degrees, just purely because the air can convect around a little bit easier. Definitely worth doing. If you aim a fan at it as well, I'd be amazed if you didn't get maybe 10, possibly even 15 degrees off your temperatures for your GPU and CPU. Now, under a sustained load, it might still creep up to those higher levels, but for general use, lower TDP stuff, watching YouTube videos, that kind of stuff, it's going to be absolutely fine, and it doesn't cost anything, so why not do it? So that's a potential hardware fix, i.e. removing the front panel, removing the side panel. Glass as well can be quite an insulator, so if you've got a case which has got a ton of glass, remove some glass panels. That will allow the air to come out, it will allow it to breathe. Now when it's colder, what's that?
What about us?
What, take the glass out the windows?
No.
Yeah,
Take that.
yeah,
We get the heat.
yeah. Yeah, it will have a negative effect where it will spread the heat around the rest of the room, but
Let's let it blow up.
what, yeah, Kath wants it to blow up.
Get the cooler.
That's not good. So, oh, what was I going to say? Yeah, glass.
Sorry.
Glass will, it's not particularly good at transmitting heat to some extent. If you've got a wood burner at home and you've got a glass front on it, yes, it does let some of the heat out, but you open the door on the fire and the heat goes like, oh. So that is a really good example. Open your PC case, take the glass side panel off, try not to burn your eyebrows off when you do it. That is another really good way of doing it. Just open the PC up so it can breathe a little bit more. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't want to open up your PC, and I totally understand that, there's people out there that are terrified of getting a screwdriver or anything near their PC. It's their pride and joy. They spent a ton of money on it. They bought it from a shop. They just want to press the power button and play games and enjoy it. But they also want to lower the temperatures. So how can you lower temperatures without touching the PC? Well, again, obvious things you can do, open windows, doors, etc. That is a given. But if you don't really have that opportunity, or you can't do that for some reason or other, then what can you do physically to your PC to make it run cooler? So the first thing you can do is basically vacuum it. Vacuuming out the fans, the vents, the grills, all that kind of stuff. Potentially it may not be much at all. If you're one of those people that looks after your PC and do regular maintenance, you're probably going to be absolutely fine anyway. But for those of you that are a little bit scared of vacuum, take a look at your fans, take a look at your filters. I would imagine there's probably going to be quite a build-up on there, especially on fans. You see like a circular build-up of dust on the front, which is restricting air. And even just a quick vacuum of those dust filters, the bottom one for the PSU as well, always don't forget, never forget to do the PSU filter. That one is actually really important because your power supply is most efficient when it's cool. If it's struggling to get air in from that filter on the bottom, your power supply is going to heat up, and that can actually cause instability because the power supply isn't designed to run as hot. And if you've got hotter temperatures in the house, again, it's going to be a cumulative effect. Yes, Kath?
If it's on a hinge, just open it. Markovsky said.
Markovsky, yes, fantastic. If you have got a case which opens, just let the, if a hinged one, sorry, just open the side a little bit, just open the hinge a little bit, let a bit more air in, unrestricted air. Yeah, it's going to be a bit dusty and you might get the odd fly in there, but hey, you can have a cooler PC, so that's absolutely fine. So that is the things you can do. In the PC itself, there's various things you can do. So obviously, the first thing is going to be adjusting your fan profiles. Now, some of you may not appreciate this because obviously, as you adjust your fan profiles, your PC is going to get noisier. Faster spinning fans equals a louder PC in general. Even if it's not because the fans are crap, it's because you're just moving a lot of air. And whenever you move a lot of air, it whooshes, it whistles against anything it touches. Even walking through the park. If you're walking through the park and you've got some earphones in, you can hear the wind going past you. Stop, and it pretty much stops. So when you've got air movement, it does have a kind of, I can't even think of what the word is, but essentially, the faster air moves, the noisier it is. You're not going to get a sonic boom or anything, but yeah, you are going to get that whooshing of air. So that is something to bear in mind. If you've got the possibility, now I know we're talking about more software type things, but if you have got the opportunity to swap out your fans from 120mm to 140mm, that does actually make a surprising difference to the airflow and also the noise profile. So if you're at a point now where you've got a case, you've got 120mm fans which have been put in there as standard, which pretty much I would say 95% of cases do, look and see if you've actually got the option of fitting slightly larger fans. If you've got a 140mm fan rather than a 120, you can probably reduce the RPMs by about 200 RPM and still get probably about the same amount of airflow. So a fan which would normally spin at maybe 1200 RPM, you could have as a 14cm fan running at about somewhere between 900, possibly even 1000. So, and it'll move probably about the same amount of air. And the sound profile is going to be different because it's spinning slower, larger blades, less air pressure, etc. possibly. They sound differently. So if you want to move more air and you don't want to hear it, go for larger fans. Now obviously if you've got the opportunity, then 200mm is the way to go. The F15M, Lianli 215, the Neutron Labs W series, all of those types of things, 200mm fans on the front. I love them, I really do. They move an absolute ton of air. They fill up almost the front of the PC, so it's just pushing loads of air through. They don't have to spin fast. You can probably have them spinning somewhere between maybe 500 and 800 RPM, which is where they normally top out anyway, about 800, 900. And they move a lot of air. So that is definitely worth doing. But fan profiles are very important. Chances are, if you've never touched your fan profiles, they're going to be rubbish. And they'll probably be, most default fan profiles make it so the fan spins at 100%, it's something like 85 degrees. Now me personally, every PC in the house that I've done myself, I always set it so we've got a relatively flat line towards the bottom, which goes up to about 55 degrees, maybe about 30% fan, 40% fan, just a pretty much straight line up to about 55 degrees. So if you've got a processor which is using precision boost overclock, or has got that kind of thing, turbo boost facility on Intel, that sort of thing, normally they will jump quite a lot. So they can jump between like 30 degrees and 50 degrees pretty easily. So if you've got your fan profile set too low, maybe 40 degrees or 45 degrees, you're going to get that whooshing noise from your fans as they ramp up when the temperature goes up. So what I tend to do is have a relatively flattish profile, maybe a slight up curve, up to about 55 degrees, then pretty much ramp straight up, and then up again, and then up again, up until around about 65, 70 degrees as being your max. Now obviously you can set those however you want, depending on your fans, the profile, the noise levels, etc. Find what works for you. But I would always set my fans so that the processor, as soon as it gets to its kind of normal maximum operating temperature, the fans are spinning at 100%. And if you do that, you'll find that the CPU won't get to 100% and it will stay below that temperature. So for me personally, in the PC, well, that's a bad example, but because that's a 360mm rad in there. But at the moment, I'm saying 33 degrees. And considering there's almost that in the room, that's pretty good. But the fan profile is set on there, so it does go to those kind of levels. Yes, Kath?
It's a bit off subject, but Blake meant to ask you about those ANC headphones you reviewed. How would they do for a cyclist with wind reduction? Sort of a bit of wind.
Oh, yeah. Blake, I will answer that shortly.
When riding a bike, it's hard to hear cars behind with the wind noise.
Oh, sorry, I've got to grab a drink. Sorry, off camera. Let's take my suntan. One good thing, makes my teeth look whiter. It does actually. Yeah. That's
the inside of your hand.
Oh, madness.
So you just proved you didn't fake tan then, because your hands are not orange.
Oh yes, yes. Obviously not fake tan. So Aletta says my fan profile is 100% all the time. Of course, obviously, thanks James. If you don't mind the noise of fans, if they're higher spinning fans, fans also, not all fans are equal. So say for instance, actually we've got some examples here. So this is the Arctic Freezer F9, this is a Pro TC, this is thermally controlled, so it's got actually a little thermal sensor on it. So you just plug it in, you set your profile, this spins up to from 500 to 2000 RPM. But there is actually a little thermal sensor on there, so when the PC or when the sensor gets to a certain temperature, that's when the fan starts spinning, and it doesn't spin before that. So there's a little thermal, I guess that's a diode or some sort. So you plug it into a normal PWM style fan header, attach that to the case or wherever you want it to be, and whenever the diode gets to a certain temperature, the fan kicks in, and the hotter it gets, the faster it spins. So those are actually a really good idea. I actually used these on a graphics card, and the thermal couple was the whole idea of it, because the graphics card fans were dead and they were PWM from the graphics card, but obviously because they were dead, it didn't work. So I had to take a temperature reading from elsewhere. So yeah, those were good. I don't think they actually make these anymore, so you'd be lucky to get hold of them, but the principle is still solid. Or sound, whatever the word is. So yeah, 2000 RPM they'll spin out to. Because they're small, they're going to sound horrible. They're going to whine like crazy. And they are roughly the same sort of size as the stock cooler on your Ryzen and Intel processors. Intel one probably a little bit smaller. So that is going to be something to look at as well. While you're doing your fan profiles, if you get to a point where your profile still is being outpaced by the thermal limits of your processor, then it is going to be time to change your CPU cooler, which actually makes a massive difference. It will give you higher boost speeds, longer boosts, and also it's going to be quieter and potentially look a little bit sexier. So we should really look at those as well. Have a quick look at the chat there and see if James has abused me any further. I don't think so. Alexa says I have AC and a 20-inch fan in my room that sounds like a B-52 taking off. No way I can hear my PC over that noise. That would do it.
Can they hear the fan?
Yeah, can you guys hear the fan? I'd imagine it's pretty hard not to be fair, but anyway. Ugly Bob says, is that CPU block saying 33 degrees now? Yes, yes it is. Yes, it is showing 33 degrees. That is the temperature of, I believe it's the temperature of the water. I did say this in my review of that cooler. I still, clack, 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 yeah, creaky noisy fan. All right, let's get rid of the fan.
I hope that tan's waterproof.
Yeah, yeah. This tan better be waterproof or it's just going to drip off in a minute.
Sammy asked how many years I have to clean my case.
How many years? Do you clean your PC monthly? Make it into a routine. There we go. Jason Wood says, hi everyone. How you doing, Jason? Welly Bob, sounds like Chipmunk's getting busy. Yeah, David Aiken, actually, that's a good point. It does depend how clean your room is, how fussy you are. I try and clean my PC, well, because this room, we do unboxings in here, so...
And there's two of us.
There's two of us in here, we've got 3 cats, 2 kids. It's a small room. It is, what, 12 foot by 11 foot, 12 by 10, something like that. With 2 computer desks, this dual computer desk, that behind me as well. So this is a small room. Most people have got larger closets, to be fair. So it does get dusty quick. And it does get, there's a window there, the cats come in, and there's the kitchen there. So anything that comes in the kitchen or through the window, dust, dirt, grass, all that kind of stuff, goes onto the laminate floor and generally then kind of gets pulled into the fans on the PCs. So both PCs I clean almost every morning. I would say every morning, but it's not every morning. But most mornings I vacuum all around in here. I will often do that with my favourite vacuum. Thank you, Tinico.
Don't get a look in, I get to empty.
Kath's allowed to empty that one. I'm not allowed to use it because it is really good.
But I'm allowed to use the pink one.
It is good. So yes, I clean the front fans and the front filters pretty much daily. And Kath's going to pull the front panel off hers now, or wipe it. I cleaned that earlier.
Okay.
Is it clean?
Yeah, I think so.
See?
Usually I can make a new cat out in front of
Yeah. Normally it's like covered in cat hairs, but no, the Tinico has been absolutely great for that. Have you seen Tinico? Subtle plug. Ugly Bob says I clean my browser history every morning. Oh dear. Alexa says it's dusty here. I have a dirt road going past my house. Yeah, we're the same. Our back lane is basically a mud track. And when it's like this now where it's dusty and dry, people walking up and down there, the cats roll up in it, and yeah. We do get really fine dust, so dust filters, stuff like that, clean them out because it will affect your air cooling abilities. And every now and then, just take the side panel off, get your vacuum in there, don't be scared, just put some brushes on the end. They say you shouldn't use nylon bristles on a vacuum inside a PC because, static. Yeah, if you're scrubbing it like a crazy lunatic, yes, that's probably not a great idea. But if you're careful, put it on a relatively anti-static surface, maybe leave the plug plugged in but turned off so it's still connected to ground. You can vacuum your PC. It's pretty harmless to do. I've even done it when they've been on, and I've never suffered any ill effects from it. So PC maintenance is a really important thing as part of your cleaning process to make sure that everything stays nice and cool. And actually dust, believe it or not, because dust contains basically dead skin cells and stuff like that, as it builds up, because there is skin in it, and your skin is conductive, as you'll know if you've touched an electric fence or something which is positively charged, that can actually short out. And that is what causes a lot of graphics cards to die prematurely, because dust gets sucked into the internal parts of the GPU, around the fan and the VRMs and anything like that. So it gets hot, basically just pulls in all that skin and dirt and all that horrible stuff, and it will start shorting out. So it could be just something pretty random, like purple lines on a screen or green lines, or artifacting in certain games. Could be overheating, but chances are it could be just dead skin cells in your GPU. So clean them out. And we've done videos on that actually. We've done a video on GPU cleaning. I think we've only done it in streams. Maybe we need to take a look at that. And I would suggest, if you're going to do it, buy some MX4 thermal compound. It's really, really cheap for what it is. It works really well. It isn't actually electrically conductive, so if you're a little bit overzealous with your thermal paste, it's not the end of the world. It's not going to start burning out circuits and that kind of stuff. If you're doing your GPU, you can use that on your GPU, but on the memory sticks and stuff like that, you can get these. These are thermal pads. These are from Gelid. You get various different widths and measurements. So this is a 1mm one. You can get 1.5, 2mm, 1.8, etc., etc. So you might need to measure your graphics card pads to see what you've actually got going between the VRMs or the RAM chips and the actual heatsink. But actually just buying slightly better thermal pads on graphics cards can actually make quite a bit of difference, especially when it comes to RAM. So definitely worth looking at those. Or if you're a bit lazy and you don't want to change your thermal paste out very often, you've all seen these used before. These are the IC graphite thermal pads. So this is essentially graphite which has been kind of woven into, you can see that. So it's basically like a shiny piece of very, very slim metal effectively, but it feels more like a material. So you use that instead of thermal paste. And there's a little bit of a cut in there. Did I try cutting that, or was I just being stupid? So those are really good. They never need replacing because they don't actually dry out or anything. So literally you could put that into a PC or a laptop, leave it in there, and it'll be fine for years and years and years and years, probably outlast the actual unit it's being put into. The downside is, although it does say on there that it's up to 35 watts per meter Kelvin, I don't understand how they measure that, because when I tested this in conjunction with a load of thermal pastes, it was mediocre. It was better than some of the cheap pastes, but it wasn't as good as things like MX4, the Gelid Ultra, that was really good. So stuff like that is worth taking into consideration. As part of your routine maintenance to keep your PC cool, change your thermal paste.
Jason's on.
Cheers, Jason. Catch you later. James Miscellaneous correctly says there as well, be careful with the graphite. It is conductive. And yes, that is one of the downsides of using these thermal pads, or these weaves, or whatever you want to call it, the fabric of whatever, thermal pad thing. It is conductive. So if you're changing it in a PC, make sure you put your PC down flat so it can't accidentally slip out. Otherwise you could potentially fry something. It's unlikely, but it is conductive, so it can happen. So you have to be careful there. Obviously that is why MX4 is so very, very popular, because it mimics the quality silver-based compounds, but is more of a silicon base than it is a metallic base. So it's really good stuff. So thermal paste compounds, clean your fans, clean your coolers in between all the vents and stuff, and new thermal paste. And that will drop off probably 5 degrees, maybe more, which might just be enough. And it might just be enough to keep the fans underneath that level. Again, you can set your fan profiles and all that kind of stuff. Do it however you want. So the next thing is then going to be up. Go on, Kath.
Can you explain to the ordinary dude why we can't have a RoboVac because of cats? Because I can't type all that.
Right. Oh, David Aikens, £5. Thank you, David. that says, I'm off for tonight. Thanks, Mike and Kath. Stay cool, guys. Yeah, be lucky it's bloody boiling. Remember to give the stream a thumbs up. Thanks, David. Appreciate that, buddy. Catch you later. Have a good evening. And also try and stay cool. I'm not looking forward to working tomorrow. It's going to be hot. Hot, hot, hot. And there we go. That seemed like it went on for ages. Thank you, David. Right. So fans, basic fans and cooling thermal equations, that's one thing. So another thing you can look at is you can actually underclock your processor. It's actually a really easy thing to do. You can use Ryzen Master if you're using the AMD system. Another thing you can do, which actually is extremely easy to do and does make quite a massive difference, and I actually challenge anyone in here to try it themselves, and that is to actually turn off Precision Boost Overclock on your system. You'll be amazed how much difference it makes. I'm waiting for someone to challenge me. No one's going to challenge me. Basically, it's a very easy thing to do. Just go into your BIOS, turn off, if you're on MSI system, turn off Game Boost. If you're on ASUS, what do they call it? They call it DOCP something or other. In most motherboards, it's under AMD overclocking. But just look for PBO or Precision Boost Overclocking and turn it off. If it's set to auto, you probably still need to disable it. But essentially what Precision Boost Overclocking does, it looks at the processor's thermal abilities and will periodically boost the frequencies as high as possible within a certain amount of the kind of algorithm they've set. So you've got thermal limit, you've got a voltage limit, I think you've got an amperage limit as well. There might be something else as well. But it takes into account all these other factors. But if your PC is getting hot, then obviously turn on Precision Boost Overclocking. Because it's done on like a fractional second thing, it can boost up your temperatures on your CPU, maybe 100 megahertz, maybe 200 megahertz, possibly even more, depending on your system. But that boosting up and down all the time, it just spikes spikes voltage into your processor. And as we said before, electricity equals heat. So reducing your voltage, you can undervolt, which potentially some of you may find benefits in, but it is a little bit of a black art. So you can either do it by an offset, so you can take off a kind of maybe 25 millivolts throughout the range, or you can just drop the actual voltage altogether. So maybe your system's set to auto, you can set it to maybe 1.25, 1.275, 1.1, 1.35 if you're on a kind of Ryzen 9, that sort of thing. So you can do undervolting, but actually turning off Precision Boost Overclocking will do effectively the same thing. And I've actually noticed on my system today, which is a Ryzen 9 3900X, turning off PBO reduced the temperatures by 5 degrees across the board. So that may not sound like a lot, but actually as an average, it works out really well. So if you're kind of hitting maybe 55 degrees idle in these kind of temperatures, dropping down to 50 degrees does make a noticeable difference to potentially the fan curve and that kind of thing. If you maybe open up a Chrome browser or some task which is a little bit CPU heavy, you don't get the fans ramping up, so it doesn't appear that it's getting as hot. Again, reducing temperature, reducing voltage, reducing noise, all that kind of stuff. So turn off Precision Boost Overclocking, and actually it does work out really well. But if you want to do it in a slightly more kind of, not efficient, I suppose that's probably the wrong way. If you want to maintain performance, but you want to reduce heat, then undervolting is the way to go. We will probably end up doing a separate video this week coming on undervolting, both for graphics cards and CPUs. So if you want to find out how that goes, obviously if you're not subscribed already, click on subscribe icon and the button, and you'll be notified of future video releases. And
The chime.
yeah, yeah, click on that, the chime and the ding, all that. Do those things, Kath said. So yeah, undervolting, turning off PBO. Most processors, to be honest with you, these days don't really need Precision Boost Overdrive. They really don't. And if you've got a decent cooler, you'll probably find that it's boosting to the kind of those frequencies or clock speeds anyway, without PBO being turned on. So you should be absolutely fine. So, I Ghost Adder and John Arctic Freezer 2 AO is a beast. It is. Minion says, I thought auto was disabled. No, auto means it will try and do it whenever it can.
Oh, can you turn the light off for the fish stage?
Oh, are we buffering?
On that one, not on my phone.
Oh, what's going on? We lost our internet connection. No, it says it's still going there.
Right on my phone, it's just this one.
Sorry, it's looking for, well, yeah, drop frames from OBS. It says 0. So it must be server side, not our side. Blackhound Roy says, please do an undervolt video. Much appreciated, thanks. I'm off to sleep in the fridge because it's muggy where I am. Even the big desk fan is complaining. Thanks guys, good night. Thanks for watching Blackhound Rise, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already.
Get the neck fans.
Oh yeah, those neck fans, they were great, weren't they? Ugly Bob says it buffered a bit here. Back now though. Cool. James Miscellaneous says you're good here. Awesome, fantastic. Neil Longman says back now. Awesome, thank you. Welly Bob restarted YouTube. Actually, yeah, for those of you, we just going slightly off topic, and I do it all the time anyway. There's two things at the moment which are critical for Windows users and anyone who's using Chrome. So if you're on Chrome at the moment, there is a 0-day vulnerability which has just come out, hence the 0-day thing. So you probably will have to refresh your browser. Now, if you're not sure how to do it, I could, no, I can't show you on there, can I? Can I? Don't think I can. Essentially, go into the 3 dots in the top right-hand corner. Actually, I'll do it, but I won't show it on screen because I'm not sure what information is beyond there. Go into Settings, and yeah, we can't show you that at all. Then on the left-hand side, go down to Advanced, and then in the very bottom, go to where it says About Chrome. And it will say immediately that it's updating Chrome. I'll be amazed if it doesn't. There is a new build which is version 91.4472.124. Basically, that is to prevent the 0-day flaw. So, guys, girls, whatever, make sure you do that now. It's really important you do that because there are vulnerabilities in Chrome which need addressing. Also, the Windows print nightmare is kind of back. It's not back as such, as in that specific vulnerability, but there is another 0-day vulnerability in the print spooler. So in my previous video, I said that it was fixed, and I was technically right because the actual print nightmare vulnerability is patched. But there's another vulnerability which uses the same exploit, but in a different method, which hasn't been patched and possibly won't be patched until Wednesday or Thursday, depending when they can get a fix for it. So if you haven't already, go into Services. So just in the start bar, type Services, right click on it, choose Run as Administrator, scroll down through the list of services until you find Print Spooler, click on Stop to stop the service, then where it says Startup Type, there's a drop down box. Yours will be set to automatic, just make sure you set it to disabled. Now, obviously, that will prevent you from printing any documents, but also it will protect you from the vulnerability which there have been known attacks already, so it's only a matter of time for most people. You could be lucky and it could completely overlook you, but I'd rather that you guys were in the know, knowledgeable and informed, so if you want to do those changes, I've told you. If you don't want to do it, that is entirely up to you. It's your computer, your life, your internet, you do what you like. Let's go.
Is that watch on a digi?
Is that watch on a digi? No, this is what actually Ugg sent us this.
That's why.
I still got to review it. It's the model i9, but it looks a little bit like a Digi. I think it's a copy of. Oh, I can't think what it is. But yeah, I've got to do an unboxing on that.
Sorry, Uggs.
But I'm not doing any exercise in this bloody weather. No, 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 sir. Anyway, so that's that. So make sure you. Tristan G says I've disabled print spooler. Good on you, Bueller.
Do you reckon you could change a battery on a watch live.
You do what? Do you reckon I could what?
Change a battery on a watch live.
No. No.
Best watch in the world. Oh, what have I got stuck to it?
I don't know. Some QR code. Anyway, so that is that. Make sure you disable your prints, Bueller. So if none of those options are good to you, so you don't want to undervolt, you don't want to turn off precision boost overclocking because you want all the performance possible, you don't want to leave your PC open. So the next part of it is basically upgrading your cooling system. Now we've got we've got tons of stuff here that you can look through, which will all be very useful. So if you're into RGB, then obviously something like this, that's the Arctic Bionics P120 ARGB fan. High pressure, addressable RGB fan. This is a decent upgrade for pretty much most case fans, unless you've got Noctua fans in there or something, or perhaps maybe Arctic's other P series, or maybe even the F series. They were actually quite good. Not particularly static optimized, but certainly do move some air. Getting things like your Lanley, that sort of stuff. This is a good upgrade. Other brands are available, obviously. The Thermaltake Tough fans, actually, if you want something a little bit more in the kind of same ilk as Noctua, but you don't want to pay Noctua prices, the Thermaltake Tough fans actually are pretty decent. I was going to say there are other ones from Sahara which are coming, which are also very, very well built in a very similar ilk. But officially they're not here yet, so I can't talk about that. And they are very cheap. But I can't talk about that, so I won't talk about that because Sahara will get upset with me. But anyway, upgrade a single fan, very easy to do. If you haven't got any fans in your case at all, maybe you've just got the one stock one which came with it, then just grab a couple of fans. Get in that push-pull configuration. So, like I said at the very beginning of the stream, 2 120s up front, a single 120 in the rear. Pretty much most places, you're good to go. You're going to get a decent amount of air washing across the system. If you've got them obviously on top of each other, so you've got the top one which will be supplying some nice fresh cool air into the CPU kind of chamber. The one at the bottom will be hopefully pushing air towards possibly your storage and also your graphics card. So nice clean fresh air going into those areas. It's going to keep your temperatures down. The colder you can get the air into those actual devices which need it, the better for the system. But obviously you still do need to get that air. Once it's been in and it's gone past the devices, you do need to exhaust it. This is where it comes into a thing about moving your cooling system around. So if you've got a negative pressure system, in this weather, that will really hamper the whole thing because it's sucking in air from everywhere. So you're not getting a directed airflow of cooled air, you're just pulling in hot air from everywhere. And because it hasn't got enough pressure, it's not kind of washing around the system. So a positive pressure system generally will work slightly better in that regard because it's kind of forcing air in a certain direction and then all of it is being pulled out in one place, which does benefit airflow. Now I know tons of people have done kind of scientific tests on this and they've run a PC for X amount of time and they've worked out that, yeah, this one is better for the graphics card, this one's better for the GPU. It is going to be really dependent on your fans to start with, your components such as your graphics card and your CPU, and the ventilation in the case. All of those things are complete variables. So there isn't a de facto one size fits all method for PC cooling. There really isn't. There's general principles and rules of thought, but essentially it comes down to the individual. Now for me personally, I absolutely detest front mounted AIOs. I absolutely detest it. I refuse to do it on any build. I don't think it looks nice. And in my opinion, which is purely my opinion, if you've got a front mounted AIO, so say this is the front, this is the back. So you've got an AIO here. Now obviously your AIO is quite hot because it's cooling your CPU, which is one of the hotter components. So the whole thing is a radiator. And what do radiators do? They radiate. So if you've got your external cold air coming in, it's then going into the fans. The first thing it hits before it goes into your system is hot, heat. So you're then pushing that hot air into the path of your CPU block, your VRMs, your graphics card, and all your storage, and your RAM. So immediately, you've taken your cold ambient air from the outside, and you've probably increased the temperature of the incoming air by about 5 to 10 degrees, possibly even more if it's a particularly hot system with limited airflow. And being that the air pressure is coming through a radiator, it's hitting pressure. So you're losing performance from your fans immediately, before it's even got into the case. So for me, I would always suggest, if you can, mount your radiators at the top of your case. Now the reason for that is because obviously hot air rises. So you've got your cold air coming in from the front, washing over your components. Excellent. That hot air, when it becomes hot, will be pulled out. Convection makes heat rise. Hot air always rises. That is physics. So if you've got your radiator at the top, all the heat from your system is going to be pulled out through those exhausts. So if you've got maybe, say for instance, this is a typical case like the Fantex P400A, although radiator doesn't fit in there very well, so nice one, Dave. So 3 fans up front, maybe an exhaust fan, and possibly 2 out the top for your AIO. So then what you've got is you've got your 3 fans blowing in lots of nice clean air, you've got 1 fan at the back pulling out air, which is going to be pretty much next to your VRM, and then you've got 2 fans at the top pushing the air up through the radiator. Now your CPU is going to suffer slightly. It is going to have slightly higher temperatures than it would if it was taking the fresh air from the front of the PC. But in my opinion, that is better for the overall system, because your graphics card is going to remain cooler, because it's getting the advantage of that nice cool air in the system. And also, if you've got an AIO, you don't have then your CPU cooler on top of the CPU pushing out the hot air that it would with a normal air cooler that then washes through the system. So an AIO in that configuration, with it top mounted, 3 intake fans, 2 exhaust through the rad and 1 through the rear, that works really well. And obviously the AIO at the top, the 240mm fans are unlikely to be pushing a huge amount of air through that radiator because of the resistance. So 3 fans at the front are still going to be creating a moderate amount of positive pressure to push the hot air out through that exhaust fan at the back. I would really, really love to do a controlled scientific test on that theory and see if it pans out. In my mind, it works. And in practice, on my own systems, I find it to work generally most of the time, although I've only kind of looked at the temperatures and thought, yeah, that's fine, that's good. But front mounted for me, I think is a definite no-no. Unless you've got ridiculously high airflow fans and no real other restrictions on the front, such as a filter or a grill or a mesh, yes, then it can possibly work. Cosmic Space Muffin says, convection is not that effective, but you have a point. Aletta says, radiator placement make absolutely no difference. It doesn't make a difference to the CPU temperature. If anything, it probably would affect it possibly negatively, because the water is going to be hotter. But I'm sure of the internal case temperature, if you've got a positive airflow and a radiator exhaust in, because you're getting that heat out of the system, that is the whole point of getting heat from one place to another. So if you're like in this room, for instance, we've got a fan on up there which is blowing cold air in. If there's a radiator next to me, that cold air isn't going to be cold enough to cool down the radiator which is next to me. If the radiator was by the doorway and I'm over here and the fan's blowing in past me through the doorway and blowing the heat out the door, I'm sure I'd be cooler. There's an analogy for you. I might actually try that when it's colder. Let's have a look. O'Reilly says, for me, a front AO would be an exhaust, cooled air would be in through the bottom, rear or top, depending on the case options. Now that is what I've done in the case behind me. So this case has got, let me see if I can get on the other camera. No, that's not one. There we go. So if you look inside there, that is a positive pressure setup. So there's 6 fans, 3 at the top. As you can see, the ones on the top are actually fighting against what I've just said, but there isn't a radiator there, so it's fine. So you've got 3 fans pulling in air from the top. you've got 3 fans pulling in air from the bottom, and then you've got 3 fans pushing air out through the radiator. And I've left the 120mm on the back open because, well, I ran out of fans basically, but I don't think it needs any more. So for me, that is the same sort of principle. So we've got positive airflow, 6 fans blowing in, 3 pushing out. The radiator is pushing out towards the back here, and it's pretty warm right there. So if that warm air was actually blowing inward, all that hot air would have to circulate around the case and then be exhausted by those fans, which I guess it probably would do, but you do need positive pressure in order to do that, or a lot of negative pressure to pull the heat out. And if you have a lot of negative pressure, then you run into other issues such as a lot of dust being pulled in from all the nooks and crannies. Ultimately, it's down to the individual, and like I said, pretty much every case is different depending on what you've got. If I had loads of filters on the bottom here and on this top section, then that would affect the thermal dynamics of the whole system. I wish I had some way of actually showing how that works. I need a smoke machine.
Got me.
I got Kath, but she didn't smoke enough. I never thought I'd say that. So anyway, you get the general idea. Alfie says, chill. Anyway, there we go. J Rich says 33 degrees, almost ambient temperature. Yeah, it's not too bad. Aletta says, I've been water cooling for over 10 years, and from my experience, radiator placement makes very little difference. Again, it's going to be down to how you set up. If you've got your GPU water cooled as well, then that is a completely different ball game altogether again, because you don't have to worry about having cold air going over the GPU because you've got a water jacket on the GPU, which is taking the heat away through the water system. So you don't have the extra heat being exhausted into the case itself. Yeah, I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to turn, that is going to be an update video. I will update this video. I'm going to do the exact opposite in that case. So I'm going to turn the fans around so they're all pushing out, and I'm going to have the radiator pushing in. So although it's technically not changing the placement, it is making it so that the radiator is the intake rather than the exhaust. And we'll see if it makes much difference. That'd be an interesting one. We could take bets on it. Yes, Kath?
Stuart Cleary, you might have answered it when you just come back in. Other than the BIOS, what's the best way to check CPU temps?
To check CPU temps other than the BIOS, I've always been a big fan of using a free program called HW Monitor, or Hardware Monitor. You can get it from the people that do CPU-Z. It's a very, very straightforward, simple interface. You don't have to you don't need like a GCSE and anything. You just literally install it, double click it, and it opens up and it shows you your temps. I prefer that over things like AIDA64 and Hardware Monitor 64, that kind of stuff, because they don't always show me exactly what I want straight away. And when I've sold PCs on, I've always said to people, don't forget, periodically, just click on Hardware Monitor, just keep an eye on the temps, make sure everything's okay. And touch wood, I have not had a single customer come back to me and say, how do you find the temperatures? They've all managed to do it by themselves, or they've left the country, I don't know. But I've not had any come back so far. But use whatever you want, there's tons of other things. Bob's having 6 flans. Ugly Bob says Alfie. David Aiken says, I got a decent brand, get a decent brand, you'll be fine. Corsair AIOs have a 5-year guarantee on them. Yeah, when it comes to people concerned with leaking AIOs, I think leaking probably be something I would be less concerned with. Cooler Master had a big issue with it years ago, probably about 4 years ago now, where they had the green gunk inside and they were leaking. There was quite a big thing about that. But Cooler Master are one of those companies which do go through phases where they just have some really weird stuff. Overall, most AIOs, I would say, the thing which is likely to go is the pumps. Pumps generally tend to be the bigger failure point, in my experience, than the actual O-rings and seals on the rad. Now, obviously, it depends if you're moving it around a lot and doing stuff. If you're just using your PC, you're going to set it up, turn it on every day, turn it off, watch Mike's unboxing, etc. Go to bed, do the same again next day. You can do it every day because there is a new video every day. But you know what I mean. If you're not tinkering and playing with your PC on a regular basis, then the O-rings and stuff, it's not moving around, so it's unlikely to break. But the pump is the thing that has to start up every time, and it's a very small impeller, a relatively small motor, and it is under pretty huge RPMs. So there is a lot of stress on the motors. Potentially that, I would say, is one of the weak points, which I guess is why Acertech keep on revising the pumps. And also Arctic Cooling, they've basically redesigned their pump from the ground up. As Steve from Gamers Nexus stripped one down, you could see it. And they've shown me their kind of exploded diagrams of what's actually inside there. And it's actually very impressive what they've done. There's tons and tons of places for failure, but I think they're doing pretty well these days. But yeah, it's obviously not going to be as simple as air cooling, and it's going to be considerably cheaper. Letter says, that is true, air-cooled GPU puts a lot of heat into the case. That's why I always water cool them as well as the GPU. Yeah, I figured as much. When it comes to whole system water cooling, yeah, radiator placement is going to have a very, very minimal effect because you don't have anything really dumping a ton of heat into the case other than potentially the radiators blowing in or having a pass-through or whatever. If you have a GPU, or even if you have a water-cooled GPU but you have an air-cooled CPU, it's then vice versa because you've still got something else dumping a ton of heat inside the system. Stuart Cleary, I have CPU-Z installed. Is that the same as GPU-Z? Yeah, it's a similar sort of thing. It's all part of the same. Well, actually, no. GPU-Z I think is done by TechSpot. I think they made GPU-Z, but it's a similar thing. Yeah. Sorry, Gav. Patrick.
I've already done it.
Don't forget NVMe drives. I was surprised how hot my Samsung 970 was after a lot of disk work. I just installed a cheap cooler from Amazon and that helped a lot, even on a Gen 3 drive. Actually, yeah, I found that out. I found that out myself very recently. I was doing some testing on the MSI B450M Mortar Max and doing a little build in there, and I put the SSD in the wrong slot, so it didn't recognise it properly. And even then, just taking it out, I grabbed it by the RAM chips because it didn't have a cooler on it. And it's actually, yeah, it was pretty warm. But yes, they do get quite warm. James Miscellaneous says, placement of everything matters in every system. In my belief, every ecosystem is unique. Just look at VRM temps with a top-down cooler versus a tower. Everything affects everything else. It is. It's like, yeah, an ecosystem is very dependent on everything else which is going on around it. So if you have a choked off case, that is going to affect airflow, everything's going to get hotter, things will start suffering. And if you've got pressure in a system or negative pressure or just airflow just isn't going in the direction it's meant to, it can have a negative effect. It's not always entirely obvious, but longevity of your PC could actually be affected by it in some respects. Ordinary Dude says, Hardware Info 64 uses less resources and reads anything available. Yeah, it does. I find Hardware Info 64, I don't know why, it's just one of these things that I've tried it and it just doesn't seem intuitive enough. And the only things I really need to know, I've got to kind of dig down and dig down and dig down. And when you're installing it on loads of different PCs all the time, it just gets a little bit frustrating. I really should take another look at it though. J Rich says, water cooling done well is superior. Oh yeah, without a doubt. Although to a point, like anything, water cooling, even if you've got a top end system, eventually you'll get to the point where it reaches equilibrium. So I'm trying to think how can I explain this easy. If you do say a 20-minute blender render, if you do it with an air cooler, the air cooler is going to get to a point where its thermal capacity is saturated much quicker than a water cooler, because the water has got a larger thermal mass, takes longer to heat up, etc, etc. But eventually it will get to the point where the thermal mass is exhausted and it can no longer cope with the heat being thrown at it. So if you leave it long enough, yes, it will. But realistically, most people don't do that. Unless you're a video editor or you're doing rendering in a system a lot, yes, that may be a factor. Most people are going to be doing a mixture, so a bit of gaming, internet browsing, watching YouTube, maybe a little bit of video editing, a bit of streaming. So in those situations, a water cooler is going to handle it much better because that larger thermal mass. Yes, Kath.
Tristan's off.
Cheers, Tristan. Thanks for stopping by. Matthew Day says, I found a modern replacement for...
Your PC's gone to sleep as well.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Welly Bob.
Thanks, Welly Bob. Alexa says, I like D5 pumps. They last forever. And for 150 quid to 250, they're better. Yeah, definitely. Bikeman i7 says, my problem possibly is the system is on 24 hours most of the time, at least for the desktop gaming system. Sometimes game until 2 or 3 a.m, then sometimes do system backups overnight. Yeah, if you do leave your system on all the time, it's going to be, yeah, it's constantly generating heat. Markovsky says you can get CPU-Z for individual board makes now. Yeah, they've got themed ones, haven't they, for MSI and Asus and ASRock and all that sort of stuff. James Messina says, hey, I made a video recently describing just how hot the controller was on my chumpy Silicon Power NVMe drive. I did see that, actually. Darren C says, general rule is to have the AIO pump higher than the CPU it's cooling. Yes, which is actually, yeah, it's actually quite a difficult thing to do for some setups. I actually struggled with that one because it's a 360mm rad. Generally on 360mm rads, the pipes aren't long enough to actually have it in a position so that the pipes are at the bottom. So I've had to go with pipes up. Luckily, the impeller motor in this AIO is really, really good and is completely silent. And it spins at some crazy revolution, like 6,500 RPM. And I'm actually tempted to cut one of the pipes just to see what the water pressure is like at that kind of RPMs. It must be crazy. I bet it would shoot across the room. I'm not going to try it because Sahara would probably be upset. Rear PC gone to sleep. Yeah, thank you. That's another thing actually for saving energy is sleep mode. Let your PC go to sleep or turn your monitor off. So your GPU, obviously, even when it's idling, most GPUs now will be in like fan stop mode up to about 50 degrees. So if you set it so that your screen turns off, the GPU isn't displaying anything. So then it goes into like 0 watt mode. So then it will be actually very, very cold. So yeah, if you're not using your screen all the time, or you kind of leave your PC and stay away for ages, there's no point in the screen being on for like 15, 20 minutes after you've walked away. I think I set my desktop one to like 5 minutes.
So you get back to it.
Yeah, just shake your thing and it wakes up again. It's all good.
No, but like, if it stays on that time, when you come back, it always turns off that minute you sit down to it.
Ordinary Dude says, water cooling is more effective, but for my uses it won't make enough difference to make it worth the effort. A good air cooler works almost as well in most applications with less maintenance. I actually agree with that. It's probably not the right thing to say, and the people that have sent me water coolers over the past to review are probably saying, Mike, why are you saying these bad things about our expensive products? And this actually is very true. When it comes to CPU coolers, actually, let's take a look at some CPU coolers. There are some that I will definitely wholeheartedly recommend. There's others that I probably won't, and probably not for the reasons that you're thinking. So we have got on the desk over here, first of all, we've got the two snowmen. So if you've not seen these before, the snowman comes in two flavors. Well, it comes in loads of flavors, but the two main ones are the MT-4 and the MT-6. So the MT-4 comes in single and dual fan mode. So this is the -4. The reason you can tell it's the -4 is because it's got 4 heat pipes. This is a ridiculously good cooler for the money. If you're stuck on a stock cooler, or you're looking at CPU coolers and you're looking around and there's all kinds of different prices, you're not too sure, and you're looking at maybe things like the Noctua NHU12s, you're looking at the Freezer 34s, you're looking at the Gelid Phantoms, those kinds of coolers, then step back and think about what it is you're actually trying to do and what you're trying to achieve. These, for the money, roughly, I think the MT-4 on AliExpress and Banggood and stuff like that, you can get for something in the region anywhere between 16 and 20 pounds. Now obviously the downside of buying these from places like Banggood and AliExpress is the obvious one, is the fact that it's coming from China, so it's going to take a little while to come. But actually in use, in testing, this does pretty much as well as things like your Cooler Master, the Evo 212 Black Edition, all those kinds of things. It's virtually the same as the Freezer 34, the CO, and pretty much the Esports and the Esports Duo. There's very little between them. Essentially any 120mm tower cooler, because of the technology involved, there's only so much thermal mass you can actually produce from that size of form factor, and there's only so many heat pipes you can have. So having 4 is pretty much the norm. So again, the Evo 212, Freezer 34, all those kinds of things, they all work with 4 pipes. I think the only one that's slightly different is probably the NHU12, which I think has got 5, possibly even 6. Another one is the Gelid Phantom Black, which is a little bit more expensive, into a different category, about £50, but that's got 7 heat pipes, I think it is, or maybe even 8, and twin towers. So as a single tower 120mm, these are extremely hard to beat, especially if you go into the pounds per performance category, which again, for somewhere between sort of 15 to 20 pounds, that isn't a lot of money, and it is head and shoulders above any of the stock coolers from Intel or AMD. And it's actually a really easy thing to fit. It's just the hook-on clamp, so you don't even have to take the plastic clips off your motherboard. Very, very easy to use. The base plates are always done particularly well. No complaints. The fans are really nice, very low noise. They are PWM, so you can control them nice and easily. This one actually comes with 2 fans. I think this one was probably about £20, £18. Not hugely expensive, and certainly gives you really, really good results. If you want to go a little bit further afield, there is the MT6 or MT-6. So this is essentially, it's exactly the same cooler in terms of the fin stack. There is a little bit more added, so we've got a little bit more thermal mass on the sides there, whereas on the other one they've actually cut chunks out of it. So yeah, you've got a little bit extra thermal mass there, but what you do have is those 6 heat pipes on the bottom, which is absolutely insane. And actually, have I actually even used this? I don't know if I have. Did I ever do a review on this?
Yeah.
You sure? The MT6?
Yeah.
It looks like I haven't used it. I must have put it on there bloody well. Anyway, same spring clip. This particular version only comes with a single fan. The difference between a single and a twin fan, realistically, is probably somewhere between 1 and 3 degrees, if you're lucky. So if you want to squeeze every little bit of performance, the twin fan version is the way to go. Obviously having 6 heat pipes, this one does a little bit better than the 4-pipe one, but again, it's not a huge difference in price or performance. These, again, similar sort of price, somewhere between kind of 18 to 25 pounds, depending where you get it from. If you buy them on places like Amazon, they're crazy money. They're like 30 quid or something, I think. In fact, actually, I did have it up earlier. Where is it? Outtakes Sahara, 2 grand, no. Yeah, there we go. Which one is it? Number 3, Windows Desktop. So that is the Snowman MT6 12mm CPU cooler, 2587, which actually isn't that bad. And considering, yeah, actually that's probably coming from China as well, because the delivery is free and they reckon it's going to arrive on the 12th of August. So that's about a month away. So that is, yeah, Chinese shipping at its best. Thank you, Bob, for posting that. So yeah, actually a good option. Again, for 25 quid, there isn't much on the market that actually beats it. There really isn't. So these would be ones which I would definitely say 100%, if you're on a stock cooler, these are what you really should be looking at if you're in that price point. When you start going up a little bit further, £25, then things get a little bit more interested. So there's some other options then, which will, like these, if you look at them, the thing that lets these down really is the looks. Now they do look fine, don't get me wrong, and performance really is what you should be basing your metrics on, but we all like to have pretty PCs. So if you want to have this kind of performance, but you want a black or matte black heatsink to match your kind of stealthy build, or you want a little bit of RGB, then that is when things get a little bit different, because you can then go to something like the Vitro V5, which we've also reviewed ironically. Whatever you do, don't buy the up here version of this. The up here version is hideous. It is.
Laura uses it, and so does Kenny.
What, the up here one?
No, that one.
How what? The V5?
Yeah.
The V5 is what I would consider the proper deal. Now this has got 5 heat pipes, I believe it was. No, you can tell I've taken this one apart already. Yes, so similar sort of design, 120mm tower cooler, finished in that really nice matte black finish. Also 5 heat pipes, and actually a pretty decent base on this one as well. But what is the thing for some people is the inclusion of a addressable RGB fan. Nice fan, really nice RGB effects. Again, we've done a review on this one, hence why I've got it here. The only thing I think I didn't particularly enjoy about this one was the mounting brackets were a little bit on the fiddly side. But having said that, after using the up here version, please, please, please do not buy the up here version. I've done the review on it. I said in the review, don't buy it. I stand by my words. I tried it again the other day. I revisited it for a build I was doing and instantly regretted it the moment I started the camera rolling. It is an absolute bastard to install. And even when it is installed, it still doesn't work particularly well. So yeah, whatever you do, please, 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 ladies and gentlemen, do not buy the up here one. Buy their fans, the desk sets, the 6, actually that's what I've got in the PC behind me, and also in, are they in there as well? Might be in there. I think they're my other PC as well. The up here fans, the fan sets with the controllers and all that, they're great. No issues whatsoever. I just do not understand how they managed to make a cooler so badly. There goes any chance of sponsorship there. But anyway, yeah, the V5 Vitro is absolutely brilliant. It really, really is. The only other one, I think, which was of a similar kind of ilk to that was, oh, the, excuse the trousers, or lack of. It's this one. This is the Dark Flash. Dark Rock, or Dark Air? No, Dark Air. So this is essentially the same thing. I think it's actually about the same sort of price. and I think this one looks a little bit nicer. You've got a logo on the top there which is RGB, but essentially it's the same deal. You've got 4 heat pipes on there, really nicely finished base, addressable RGB again. Yeah, it's essentially pretty much the same deal. I think I prefer the mounting situation on this one. But again, very similar price, very similar performance. So either of those would be massively, massively more beneficial to you than trying to wrestle with the up here thing. I don't even, when I looked at it, I was going through the stuff I've got here, and I literally looked at it and I was like, why the hell have I still got this? Why did I not send this back? It is absolutely awful. And I still to this day don't know why I didn't. I might see if I still got any guarantee on it. I'm sure it must be less than a year ago. I mean, if it is, Amazon can have the bloody thing back because it is pretty much useless. So that is the kind of entry level. Next up is going to be the Freezer 34. This is the Esports Duo. The thing that sets this apart from the others, which are slightly cheaper, this does perform a little better. Again, a few more degrees off, but this is using their new P-series fans on here, which are static pressure optimized. So these will push air through the actual fins easier and arguably quieter. Although Arctic, in some of their revisions of this, because of the way they use the clips, and there are some foam backings on the back, which I think they've addressed now, if you didn't have the right sized foam backing on the back, there was a very, very annoying whistle noise that came from this, where the top of the fan would just kind of peer over the top of the heatsink stack, and because there was a little gap there with those foam pads, it just made a weird whistling noise. Literally moving the fan up a little bit or to the side a little bit got rid of it. It was just such a bizarre thing, and it was only at certain RPMs, but it changed with the RPM as well. So the faster the fan got, the more it whistled. And my PC, which was rendering away over there when I had this on my, I think I had this on my 1700X. I think it probably was, and that was quite a warm chip. So yeah, it was making all kinds of noises. But performance-wise, yeah, a little step up above. The heat pipes in these are a little bit better. They use slightly better materials than some of those other cheaper ones. So again, you do get a couple of degrees off, but you get a few more pounds on. So these at the moment retail for somewhere in the region of about £35. Every now and then you see an offer on somewhere like Hot UK Deals for the yellow version, which quite often sells for like 20 quid or something. So yeah, that is another potential option. If you're not a big fan of Arctic, which some of you may not be, or maybe the first time you're hearing of Arctic, I don't know. But if not, then this is an option. This is the new Hyper 212 Evo V2. Now this is a little bit more expensive, but this is basically the one that pretty much started it all. I think Scythe may have had a similar version out, a kind of similar sort of time. But this is basically what started the 120mm tower cooler revolution. Since then, what's this, 15 years old, the design now, if not more. I think they were, yeah, probably about 2005, so yeah, 15 years or so. Since then, pretty much every cooler company has tried to emulate it in some way. Now this comes with the new installation brackets. So one of the things I hated about the Freezer 34 and the 33 before it were those spring clips, and I still hate spring clips to this very day. They're handy because it gives you some level of adjustment on some setups, such as the Snowman, because you can move those spring clips, and you can basically, if you've got some particularly high RAM, you can just take the spring clips off a little bit, and you can move the actual fan up to give you a little bit more room underneath there. It does mean it's poking up over the top, so again, you may have experienced whistling issues, but it gets you out of a fix. The Arctic freezers don't have that ability because there's specific mounting pins, top and bottom, where they have to go. So there's no vertical adjustment on the freezers, which is a real shame. And I think I've said it in almost every review I've done of Arctic products that I just hate those spring clips. They're absolutely awful. The only ones which I found which are even more awful are on that up here fan. Those are really bad. like properly really bad. So much so that I was filming a video yesterday, doing a build video, and I gave up in the end on the spring clips. I was like, I'm not going to get this on camera. I was losing my patience, it was hot, and it's like, nah, I'm not dealing with this, I'm really not. So I just put it on, like, press record, Kath, here we go. So anyway, this uses a very, very classic design of the actual mounting system. So these basically have got plastic clips on the side of the fans, which just push onto the frame. Now, Corsair did a very similar thing with their, was it the A500 tower cooler, where you have that slot-on design. Absolutely brilliant. This gives you options for a little bit of height adjustment, and you don't have to fiddle around with spring clips inside a PC case. And if you've got a PC case which is a little bit on the kind of shallow side height-wise, it's always a pain in the ass to try and get those spring clips in the top section without grazing your knuckles on the top section. So yeah, just this makes life so much easier. I don't know why someone like Arctic, who they spend an absolute metric shit ton of money on research and development, give us some plastic clips. That's all we're asking. Plastic clips, a little bit of foam on the insides to take out the vibrations, and we're done. Why can't they do it? Why? I don't get it at all. Anyway, so those are the kind of more mid-range options. So these will be suitable for processors up to, I guess, probably about 150, maybe 170 watts probably. I wouldn't want to go much higher than that. Wattage wise, it probably isn't a great metric of doing it anyway. Again, depending on how many watts it is, depending on what country you're in, depending on what case you're in, all those things are going to be pretty much redundant if you're in a starved case of oxygen. So yeah, entry level, mid-range, then we can go up another level. Let me make some room here a second. And here we go, it's shorts time again. So, the next level up is going to be your premium coolers. So, I just realised that's right in the way. In premium coolers, I would consider these to be the sweet spot for both of the premium ones. So you've got the Phantom Black from Gelid. So this is a twin tower design, dual 120mm fans. This will take up to about 200 watts TDP processors. So this is getting right up there. Ryzen 9s, 5900X, no problem at all. 3900X, again, this effectively is very, very compatible with the D15 from Noctua, which is essentially double the price. Now this one at the moment on amazon.co.uk is about £50, I think I found it for. Which number is it? Number 3. So there we go, Gelid Solutions. That is the twin tower heatsink with 2 PWM fans. You can actually add a third fan on the back if you want to, if you're some kind of mad person. And you've got tons of heat pipes on there. I think was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 heat pipes. Twin tower, finished in like a nickel finish. Absolutely loads and loads of cooling potential. Now the only thing I've found with this, as good as it is going to give you some issues with clearance. With this installed, very much like with the D15 from Noctua, because it is physically so big, if you've got a graphics card which is quite chunky, actually getting your hand in between the graphics card and your CPU cooler to remove your graphics card can be a real pain. And I actually damaged my X570 Asus motherboard because I couldn't get to that to actually take the graphics card out. So I had to get a screwdriver and try and stab the retention clip to make it release the graphics card, and I broke the clip.
James is off.
Cheers, James. Uh-oh, and we have some thunder. Be safe, James. Not because of the thing, but because of the lightning.
No, that's the other James.
Oh, which James?
James Miscellaneous.
Yeah, James. Yeah, that's.
James Brock said buy in advance.
Right. Okay. So yes, clearance is going to be an issue. Depending on your motherboard, you may have more luck than others. if you're going to be someone who wants to install it and forget it, this is probably not great for maintenance, because anything that's got 2 fans in it, you always get, or 2 towers rather, you generally get dust trapped in between the towers. So you have to take off the fans, get in there with a duster or something to get rid of the dust. You don't have to, obviously, you can just let it be. But for me personally, you know, I like to keep my PCs clean. So yeah, cleaning wise, this isn't the simplest, and I'm even hesitant about taking it out of the box because it is a beast. But for the money, not bad, and it beats pretty much most 240mm AIOs, which cost normally £20–30 more. I'm going to regret getting all these out. So this is the, oh, I didn't put the spring clips in. So that is the gelid Phantom Black, finished in that really nice nickel finish. The white fans, I don't know why they didn't do the frames in black. I think that would have made a lot more sense. Nice little touch they've done on here. They've actually ridged the ends of the heatsink there. So when you put your fan on, it kind of sits in nicely. Nice little thing, nice little touch of that. The fans are really good, very low noise, decent RPM control, really nice nickel bottom, copper then coated with nickel, and the heat pipes are actually recessed inside, which for AMD processors, that does seem to be the optimal way of doing it. Actually having the heat pipes exposed seems to not do as well for some reason. I don't know the exact science behind that, but it does seem that if they're slightly hidden away more, it works better. Same design on the Noctua D14 and the D15. So yes, that is this is a particularly good cooler. I do like this, but depending on the space you've got available, you may experience technical challenges, let's say. Ugly Bob's still here, and a letter. Oh! Alright, let's get this packed away. It is getting hotter. Kath? You just turned on the stove. It's warming up. Anyway, so that is the gelid Phantom Black. Very, very much liking that. I need more room. Let's put it on that side. Now we come to the classic, the NT-U12S, or NH-U12S. So this is the AMD version. It does Intel as well. They do one version, I think it's the NT, which is AMD only. And the one thing that people don't like about this, which I didn't like either, is that. It almost matches now. Noctua fans, possibly, arguably, the best fans on the market. They do have a price tag that comes along with that, but they do work very, very well. Extremely quiet. Extremely, extremely quiet. And they move a ton of air. And the actual heatsink itself is essentially nothing different than the Snowman. There isn't a great deal in it. One thing I will notice, it does appear that the fins are slightly further apart, which makes airflow faster, which can aid with cooling. But other than that, it's very similar. Heat pipe wise, we've got 5 heat pipes. Same as we saw on the, which one did we see? That was the Vitro, wasn't it? The V5, I think. So yeah, 5 heat pipes. The layout of the heat pipes is actually quite good because the way they're spaced out, there's lots of airflow access to the heat pipes themselves. Cooling system mounting, the SecuFirm mounting system, possibly again, arguably the best mounting system for AM4 and Intel. And you've got that recessed section there. Heat pipes are covered, all in there, so that does appear to work better overall than exposed heat pipes, which is weird because it used to be always exposed heat pipes were the way forward. But I don't know, tech changes, it certainly does. So that is another good option. It is pricey, and I actually find it very difficult to justify the price when it comes to some of the Noctua coolers. Actually, not just Noctua, actually, pretty much all the brands. When it comes to price per performance, which essentially is why a lot of you are probably here, because you've been looking for stuff online, you wanted to save a few quid, etc, etc, and you did a search, Mike's Unboxing come up, and you thought, he looks like a cheapskate, what's he all about? And that is probably why you're still a subscriber, because you like saving money, and I do as well. As much as it's very nice for companies to reach out to us and send us stuff to review, it's always difficult to recommend something which is considerably more expensive than something which performs similarly. Ultimately, it comes down to the end user. Obviously, things like Noctua, their support is pretty much legendary. So if there is an AM5 socket and it is semi-compatible, there's a very strong chance if you emailed them or whatever, you will be able to get a new mounting system to use your older Noctua fans and coolers on the new AM5 socket. That's just the way they are. They did exactly the same when we went from AM3 to AM4. Brackets were easily available. They often sent them out free of charge. Although, to be fair, Cooler Master did do that in the beginning. They kind of tailed off after a while when it got a little bit too much. But yeah, that is something that you're paying for. Service, support. I don't think I've ever known of anybody actually have a Noctua cooler break or a fan break. If you have, let me know. Actually, I'll be really interested to know. Have you ever had a Noctua fan break on you or stop working? Fans do stop working. I think I've got to really think about this now. I'm sure I've had an Arctic one fail on me. I've had the cheapy ones, obviously, yeah, from time to time they do. Arctic's probably the only one that I've known that actually failed, that I've had to get a replacement for. So overall, fans these days are pretty reliable. Now we're going to take a step up. I'm going to have a quick look at the chat a minute, and we're going to now look at the high end. Well, my high end, which is obviously going to be a little bit less than some. Nick Barnes says, Ian Mike et al. Trust you. Trust my son wants to Zoom tonight. Trust we're all well. Yeah, not bad. Markovsky says the colour is pants. Yeah. I don't like the colour of that. The newer version, the Chromax D15, much better. Blake says Noctua's traditional colour scheme is disgusting. Yeah. It was always one of those things that years ago, probably 2010-ish, I guess, when you started seeing people with Noctua fans in their system, you'd look at it and think, what's wrong with you? Why have you got that in your system? But then you actually use some Noctua fans and then you're like, oh, yeah, okay, I get it. But did they have to look that rubbish? And it took them a lot to actually change. I like that. William Bowley, Noctua is not ugly, just make a Desert Storm themed PC. That is a good plan. Right, let's look at some of the higher end options. So, these are what I would consider as being valid or viable options for the higher end, excluding obviously custom loops. Outtakes Freezer 2 240mm. Possibly, arguably, one of the most obscure and probably ugly designed coolers I've ever seen. What they were thinking with this, I don't get it at all. In a world where aesthetics are pretty much everything and performance is almost a secondary thing, why on God's green earth did they come up with a design like this? I just do not understand it. Surely there must be a very good reason for it, but I'd be damned if I know. So, Outtakes Freezer 2 240mm AIO. From the side there, the Arctic logo, the thicker rad. This is what gives it its additional thermal mass, because this is a little bit thicker than most radiators. I think this is like 35mm, whereas most are 25. Actually, I'm going to measure that, because I think I got it wrong in the review. No, I was right, 35mm. So yeah, 35mm deep rad, as opposed to most which are normally 25mm. You've got your fans there, P-series fans, static pressure optimized. So a brilliant solution here. Decent radiator, well-spaced fins, high static pressure fans, absolutely brilliant. Where it starts to go wrong for me are the pipes. So the pipes are, go away, bloody spiders. Nope, it's not a spider, it's a gnat. Excuse me, just ran over my cable again. I'm about to ruin another microphone. So yeah, those pipes. What's the deal with those pipes? At what point in the design process, and I think it might have been Vincent at Arctic, I'm not entirely sure. Vincent, if you're watching this and I'm wrong, I apologise in advance. If I'm right, you just have to take it for the team, I'm afraid. I'm sure Vincent is in design, possibly the head of design. At which point did it go through the meeting where they had silver and white stripes on the pipes? I just don't get it. There isn't, well, there's a very small element of silver actually on the pump head, and the pump head itself is a bizarre design. We've got the VRM cooler built in there. I don't get it. There's no need for it. The only reason that I don't install this in my system is the colour scheme. I don't like it. I really don't like it. I guess I could get wraps to put over those, but when other companies are doing just regular black ones or whatever, why bother? Stuart Cleary's coming with a €10 super chat. God bless you, Stuart Cleary. What a lovely man. I take back some of those things I said about him. No, it's all good, I'm only joking. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. I saw a Raleigh say, what is wrong with the design? I have to read that again. A Raleigh says, I like the liquid freezer too. Don't get me wrong, I like it. In terms of performance, it's bloody great. It really is. What is wrong with the design? Does it cool the CPU as described on the box? Then the design works. I totally understand where you're coming from with that. And it is possibly, I would say, the best, if not in the top 3 of all the 240mm AIO radiators ever produced. It may actually be the best. But silver, it's not a usual choice. And also, the pipes are just ridiculously long. So if you've got a regular case, which most people have, let's be fair. So if you put this in the top of your case, look how much length you've got on that pipe. You could probably put it on the outside of the case. You could put it next door. Literally, you could have it into another case somewhere else and it would still work out. Now, I get it if you got it front mounted like that in a system. I think so. Yeah, looks okay. If you got it like this, pipes down in a system, yeah, I understand that would work. Most people, I think, if they're going to have a 240mm AIO, especially one that doesn't have RGB, you're most likely to have this exhausting out the back of your system, or the top of your system rather. So then we've got this. So actually that's not very good because you can't really see what I can see. But basically you get something like that. So you get a load of cable that you can't manage away, you can't really do anything with, and yeah, it's probably going to be kind of like that. So you just got loads and loads of extra cable. Now, I know why, well, I say I'm not going to say I know why. I got a pretty good idea why they've done that. Obviously, the longer the tubes, the bigger the radiator, the more the thermal mass. There's a much bigger thermal mass of this because of the length of the pipes and the size of the radiator than pretty much every other AIO of the same size.
Yeah, he's going in and out.
Was it?
Is that computer behind you? You've got to have it on static.
Stick it on, press the AF button. Sorry ladies and gentlemen, I'm just giving Kath some thing. It's on the joystick, the 4-way joystick.
AF's at the top.
No. It's got, what's it say? It's not AWB, it's not the top one, and it's not the bottom one. So it's the one opposite. So then that should bring up your
Custom multi.
Yeah, so change custom multi to whatever the other options are on the bottom. It should be
Tracking?
Yeah, try that, try tracking. Then click on my eyes and it should track my eye, I think. Is that working?
It seems to be.
We'll go with that for now. Until it loses my eye, then I've got to get rid of this camera.
You've got to get rid of that computer, that's what does it.
Yes.
If you had it in a static colour, it doesn't.
Anyway, so back to what we're saying. So, yeah, this has got a much, well, not much. It's got a noticeably larger thermal mass. Bigger radiator, longer pipes. It takes more fluid to fill up those longer pipes. So if you add maybe the pipes to there, which is where you probably would have them, maybe there, then all the fluid which is in those pipes you no longer need. So that is reducing your thermal mass. And actually, I would be very interested to see if they made a version of this with a shorter pipe, whether it would actually still be as good as some of the other coolers. Is it brute forcing it with those fans, or is it purely just because more thermal mass? I don't know, it's an interesting one. Other thing I found, they did a couple of revisions of this. This is the first revision, and every now and then the pump VRM wouldn't spin. It would just die, and you had to take the whole thing apart again and unplug the little connector on the back and push it back in. Not the end of the world, but I guess it's with a, it was a very new design, slightly unproven, and they have, I think they're on version 3 or 4 at this time. I like the pump head. I've got to be honest, the pump head does look pretty cool. And the whole VRM cooling situation, yeah, that does look very cool. But the pipes, too long for me to manage, and just the colour. I don't get on with the colour. So I'm probably going against what almost every other YouTuber has said about this, but, well, I'm not here to say the same things as what everybody else says, because, well, what's the point in that? How did that go in there? Right, so let's put this away, and then next after this is the Fractal S36, which actually was sent to us by Chris.
Matthew.
Was it Matthew? Matthew Bennett. Got it. Names. So this is Fractal's S36. This is a fantastic cooler. Pipe length, absolutely perfect. Easier to manage. Again, it has to be this long because it's a 360, so it needs to go further in most cases. The controller at the top has got all the fan headers built in, so you don't have to worry about fan headers. Literally one connection to your CPU header. That is it for the entire thing. Very much like what Outtakes do, which I do appreciate. Many other companies don't. So you'd have like one connection for each fan, or you'd have a splitter or a hub somewhere, loads of wire into daisy chain, whereas with this, all into the hub at the top, nice and simple there. The cable runs down through one of these pipe channels, into the PWM controller, and then out into your CPU header. Another nice feature of this, which is seldomly used, I think, but is really cool nonetheless. You can actually twist the outside of this, and it switches between auto mode, which basically it will just get on and do its own thing, or you can switch it to PWM mode, so you can configure your own custom curves, which, again, it's really great that you've got the options there. One of the other great things about this setup, of which there are many, is the mounting system. This mounting system is brilliant, and this is what I would consider to be a benchmark for all others to try and emulate. Some do come close, but not many. So you use the standard AM4 backplate, and you screw these into the backplate. That holds the backplate in place and is rock solid. So you don't have to worry about holding the backplate in place whilst you're trying to actually attach the CPU. The CPU cooler, or the kind of like the pump head, I should say. So this is a really, really good design. Literally, it just goes on, twist it in position, and you just push that on, tighten up these thumb screws, and that is it. It is extremely easy to do, so easy to fit, it's just ridiculous. That is the primary reason why it was in my PC behind for such a long time. It was in there for absolutely ages. It wasn't until the Sahara one came along, which I finally decided to sort this thing out.
Patrick's off.
Cheers, Patrick. O'Reilly says, I like the liquid freezer too. Well, if I ever clear out, I'll keep you in mind. Why is my thing isn't scrolling? How much have I missed? Oh, tons. Cosmic Space Muffin says the heat pipes that are long is a good one if you have the room. Bam, you can mount the rad the way you want. Exactly, that is a thing. If you've got a larger case, then you can definitely make use of it. In my experience, even using larger cases like those Lianli 215, the Cooler Master, sorry, not Cooler Master, the GameMax F15M, even those which are a bit bigger and got a little more height on top, still has left me slightly longing for a less lengthy cable. Price-wise is what these kind of do really well at. So the Arctic freezer, I believe at the moment, let's have a look. Arctic freezer 34. Right, so there's the freezer 240. Currently $79.99. I'm sure I've seen it slightly cheaper than that around, but 80 quid for a 240 AIO is towards the upper end price-wise. Especially when you look at things like there's Deep Cool or ID Cooling. They've all done one for around about 50 quid, and those generally come with RGB as well. There has been special offers on the Cooler Master, like the ML240, which isn't as good, but does the same job effectively. I think I picked up those for 20 quid on a crazy deal. But even at 40 quid, they're half the price of this, and they're certainly not half as good. So we are getting to the point with water cooling where there is diminishing returns for sure. And if we look at, is that 2 run? Where's the other one? I'm sure I had the S36. That's 2 run. Let's have a look. S36. I think the S36 actually from Fractal was actually not a bad price. Yeah, 92 quid for a 360 AIO. I wouldn't consider that particularly expensive. Bear in mind that obviously the 240 from Arctic is 80 quid, so for £12 more you get a 360. Neither have got RGB. The Fractal fans possibly, I would say, maybe a little bit less in terms of performance, but not by a huge amount. So the last one then is the one I've actually got on the PC behind me, which is the Sahara. So that's the Sahara EX360. Currently on Amazon, that is $129.99. Now, for those of you that have watched the video, you probably know already, it was a little bit of a bugger to fit. There's a lot of stuff going on, as you can see from all the stuff there. Very flexible in terms of what you can do with it. So you get the hub included, so you can expand the system. The fans were really, really good fans. Also, you got a pass through for the hub for the RGB, etc. if you like RGB. But you can actually, if you don't buy it from Amazon, if you buy it directly from Sahara Gaming, you can actually use the discount code, which was MUB20, I believe. Yeah, MUB20, MUB20, and they give you 20 quid off. So for a addressable RGB AIO, which is a 360mm, it only then works out about £15 dearer than the fractal one, and the fractal one has 0 RGB. So those, I would say, are the higher end options. Obviously, there are much higher options. We could go down the Aletta route and go with a D5 pump and an entire setup, but that is more exotic, I would say. So a D5 pump. How much is a D5 pump on? I wonder if they even sell them. Well, you can get an idea of what the prices are going to be like. It isn't going to be cheap, is it? If you're paying just that for the pump, you then got fittings, etc, etc, etc. Yeah, it's not going to be a cheap thing. So yeah, there's EKD5 Vario, £75. And you even get a Molex connector for that. Yowzer. That is terrifying, isn't it? That is a lot of ketchupy mustard there. Obviously you can put stuff over that. Anyway, I digress. So I think that is pretty much all of the stuff. We have got fan sets which we could have taken a look at. There is a video. Is the gym one gone out already, or was that Monday?
Monday. On
Monday there is a review going out for case fans, which is actually fantastic timing. These are the new Gym KB28s. I was actually, well, I have got a power supply there. I was going to get my own test, but I just looked at the time and we're already 20 minutes over time, so we probably won't be doing that. These are a massive improvement. If you've ever looked at the gym fans before on AliExpress, Amazon, etc, etc. Now I've got to be honest with you, when they asked me to review these, I was like, no, you're all right. I've seen gym fans before, I've been there, done that. Yeah, got the t-shirt. I've had tons of them. I've given them away. I've put them in system builds, and I've not wanted to keep them because I wasn't particularly impressed. They were fine, they were cheap, cheerful, they looked good in a PC that you're trying to flip, but ultimately it's not the sort of thing I'd probably want to keep, being somewhat of a PC RGB snob. But they said, look, please take a look. We've changed the design. Try them, let us know what you think. Yeah, okay, whatever. So they sent them through. So that sounds terrible, I was so dismissive, but it does get to the point where you're like, well, how many fans can you possibly see before you actually physically want to do some harm to yourself? So they sent them through, and the first thing I do whenever I get any of these fans come through is I sit here at a desk. Kath's normally there answering questions or doing something here. I get out the power supply, and she just sat there waiting for me to say something like, RGB doesn't work, sync doesn't work, FFS, the PWM doesn't work again, the fans are clicking, the RGB is too dim. These are the first ones that I've actually tested where they work as they're meant to. In every form. SATA connection for power, excellent. Uprated LEDs which don't look stupid and a little bit cheap. Uprated fan motor, so you've got a new motor on these, and no clicking in the lower speeds, which is a real problem on some of the other gym fans. It's avoidable. I did say it in the reviews of the previous ones, said look, when they're on the lower speeds, there is a little bit of a click into them. Most people won't notice it, but I do because I'm sat right next to them. These, no clicking at all. The speed controls work absolutely perfectly. So there's like 4 speed controls, low, medium, high and turbo. They all work perfectly. The RGB looks fantastic. It really does look fantastic. I was surprised how good these were. And when I looked at the price, I was like, well, that can't be right. 3 fans, a hub, a remote control, and I think they're less than 20 quid. So these were like, okay, that's weird. It doesn't make sense. And for those of you that like your Arctic type builds, you get a black set and a white set. So definitely check out the review on Monday, and hopefully you'll be as impressed as I was.
Aurora's off.
Aurora, night, bless you, thank you. So yeah, that is all I can say on the matter. These actually, honestly, have restored my faith in cheap fans. Now, actually, our young Bob, this is how to get demonetized. I swear Bob does it on purpose. He's like,
Alfie last week.
yeah, he's like, Alfie's doing bloody Justin Bieber songs and getting me demonetized.
Did anyone realise that last week?
No, I don't think anyone noticed. Did anyone last week? No, sorry, the week before with Alfie. Did we notice? Did anyone recognise any of the songs? I didn't. None of you seemed to, and the YouTube gods did. There was Justin Bieber song. There was some Chinese singer that I've never heard of, or is it Chinese or Japanese? I don't recall. It was someone that we hadn't heard of, and obviously a superstar in their native country, but never heard of them. And the other one was like Stevie Wonder or something. It's like, really?
He has got his glasses on.
I didn't reckon. Yeah, he has got Stevie Wonder's glasses on, but I never realised that any of the music was even remotely kind of copyrighted or even understandable.
It's just random.
Was I drunk? I don't think I was.
I think you were.
But anyway, yeah. So the YouTube gods jumped in and like, copyright strike. No, not copyright strike. Copyright infringement. Copyright infringement. Copyright infringement. It's like, oh, bastards. So Bob's ears must have been burning. Anyway, so Bob sent us these. He's like, I've seen these, they look cool, I'm going to send them.
Fans, they look cool.
They were cool, they are fans. And to be fair, actually, I have fired these up already, and they do look amazing. But I looked at the box, I looked it over, and I was thinking of the YouTube copyright strike, because we were talking about something or other. And I turned around to Kath and I said, Kath, is he doing it on purpose? What are the things you cannot do on YouTube? You can't talk about certain elements in the world, and these are called... Yes, they're called the C word, Bob. I can't even call them by their name. I can't even put that in the title. Otherwise, that's it, demonetized. So, I don't know how I'm going to review these. I really don't. I can't call them what they're called. Because otherwise, immediately, I'll get one of those little things underneath the video saying fact checker and all this stuff. Well, if I say that Corona won't kill your PC, which I've just said, so I'm screwed now anyway. It's all over. So I will have to call them a code name. They will be called the Barona, or Drona. No, because that's bad. You don't want fans that drone, do you? Think up an interesting name for me to call them, because obviously I can't call them what they are. But they do actually look very nice, and yeah, they are different, very different. I think Bob said they look different, so that's why he sent them. William Bodie says, "Ugly Bob, your name is Loki." Yes, he is. He is the god of mischief. He really, really is. Loki Bob is going to be his new thing. But anyway, so yeah, Bob Rona. That might work. So yeah, these are the PC Cooler 5-in-1 FRGB 5-in-1 kit. It says FRGB, which normally means fixed RGB. But these have actually got a pass-through for your motherboard, so you can control them from your motherboard RGB, or they do various lighting styles. So they're not fixed RGB. So I don't get why they call them that. But anyway, I have fired them up. They look nice. They work nice. There's a metric shit ton of cabling to do, But yeah, there'll be a video coming out on those hopefully in the week. I was going to do it today, but it was just so bloody hot I could not cope. Stuart Cleary! So, €10, thank you very much, kind sir. It says, call them the Big C. Oh, God. Yeah, I can see how that's going to go. I don't think that would work out particularly in my favour. Mike Custer Love says, oh yeah, Mike, how you doing? Ugly Bob says, call them HY5M120. That's their code name on the advert. Got them because they were cheap with the 30% off rate. Calf, write that number down. Hotel Yankee.
I don't know that rubbish. Got to do the girls version.
HY
Yeah.
5 M for mother 120.
Blazing.
120 blazing. Kieran Axe says Paragon again went out after a loud bang and a huge smoke plume. Kieran, do you live in Baghdad now? Dutch Jan says, please Mike. Please what? Why do I need to scroll further?
See anything?
Welly Bob says, do you need, I'm not going to say that, to use them? Possibly. Yeah. I'm actually really tempted to do this as a medical skit and actually put a gown on. Would that be a little bit too close to the knuckle? I probably would get into trouble for that. But it might be fun. That's the trouble with YouTube now. You're so restricted on what you can do and what you can't say and all that stuff, even if it is just in fun. Hey yo.
Still don't understand Dutch.
Mehmet Holman says, how's this for luck? My 2080 Ti gave up after 4 years. Gave a constant B2 postcode error last resort. I baked it in the oven. It worked. Back to gaming again. Nice. Oh my god, I can't believe it. This is how bad things have got. So, John's just put in there to put the video somewhere else. I'm not going to say the word because that's, you're not allowed to say that either. And
you agree?
I agreed it. YouTube tried to ban you saying that, John. Like, what is going on? I know, I've noticed the viewing figures have gone down across the board. I think people are actually getting to the point where...
We are on Odyssey as well.
Yeah, we are actually on Odyssey, so if you want to follow us on Odyssey, please do so. Actually, Odyssey is pretty decent for streaming, well not for streaming, for...
We can't stream.
For content and stuff, so yeah. Go over to Odyssey, that's O-D-Y-S-E-E, Odyssey.
Same
As in
username.
view, same username, Mike's Unboxing.
Yeah.
You'll find us over there.
Put a link in, couldn't I?
Aletta says, yeah, it's not social media, it's socialist media. I got kicked off Twitter for the 4th time. Oh, God. Paul says, well, you need to treat the fans with... Yes, possibly. I can't say that either. It's amazing that we live in a society now where everything is so restricted, what we can and can't say. When it gets to the point where it's potentially affecting a review for some fans for a PC, it's a bit much, isn't it? But I'm all for clamping down on like stupid stuff and hate crimes and all that kind of stuff, because obviously, yeah, that's just common sense. But getting shadow banned for saying certain words is kind of, well, I'm not going to go there. Kath's just put the invite actually, so if you want to join us over...
Say please to Kath, Mike, or Nor.
Please say... Oh, say please to Kath. Not write this down, sorry. Yes. Kath, please can you write down this serial number for me, please? Thank you. Thanks, cheers. I should know my P's and Q's. It's because I do things too fast and I don't think things through. John says, that's crazy, wow. Yeah, it's true. It's, yeah. Mark, I think you're onto something there, I really do. You probably notice it actually. There's less and less channels available. If you look at your feeds, you'll find that your feeds have got stuff in that you probably wouldn't want in your feed. But it's not your choice. They're thinking for you now. Stuart Cleary says, "Don't go there, Mike. You worked too hard to get this far." I know. I know. It's just very frustrating. It really is.
Question everything.
Question everything. That is my motto. Question everything. I do with everything in life. Computer parts, the next block of cheese, whatever it is, I question everything. Which tea bag should I choose? Should I?
Which water filter?
Which water filter? Yeah, what water? Which water fit? Can't speak. Which water filter should I buy? I question everything. I really do. Bob. Welly Bob, your comment was also hidden by a. Was held. It's yeah, the algorithm's mental, isn't it? It really is. Anyway, we've been streaming for 2.5 hours now, so I think I've probably put you lot through enough rubbish. I was going to say something pragmatic then, but it's probably too late and I'm too hot.
And
I got way too much stuff to put away here. So all I can say is thank you all so much for joining us on this very hot and humid night in the United Kingdom. Hopefully you've enjoyed the content. Hopefully you've actually come away with some ideas on how to cool your PC. Maybe you've even come up with some ideas to maybe upgrade the cooler in your PC, whether it's a new set of fans, whether it's a new upgraded cooler, whether it's a AIO. Might be the way to go. AIOs do seem to be getting extremely popular, especially the 240mm, which is basically almost like a commodity now. Yes, Kath?
Markovsky's saying he's trying to sign into Odyssey. It's asking to sync to YouTube. We've sunk to YouTube, I don't know.
Oh yeah, if you're signing into Odyssey and it's asking to sync to YouTube,
we do it.
We do it, but that's because we're a content creator. So if you've got an account on YouTube and you're a creator, when you upload to YouTube, it will also upload to Odyssey, is what it's trying to do.
But I don't think it takes it off Odyssey when it gets taken off YouTube.
Yeah, if YouTube remove it, it stays on Odyssey.
Like we think.
We believe. We've not tested that yet, fortunately. So thanks to Darren, John, Ugly Bob, Aletta, Mark Berry, Stuart, Minion, Nick Barnes, Jabant, everybody else who's been in there, O'Reilly, James Miscellaneous, Sky Stalker. If there's names I've missed out, it's not for any reason other than the fact that my brain is literally fried today. Thank you, John, William, Bill, yeah, everybody, all the guys, new, old, and in between. So that is going to wrap this up. If you want to check out any of these things in more detail, pretty much all of them, I think actually all of the items here, apart from the Human Wellware fans, we've reviewed already. Obviously the gym fans will be released on Monday morning, so Patrons will get that already. I know Bob's seen it already. So if you're a Patreon member, you'll get early access to the videos. We will be doing earlier and earlier access to the videos, so we will get to a point where you will get access potentially a week in advance, I think, for Patreon members. And that is for anyone on any Patreon level from £2 upwards. So if you want to support us on Patreon, you're more than welcome to. Every little helps. Yeah, I think that's going to do it. So I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. And hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for sweating with me. What a gross way to finish the night.
Shorts.
I know. Got the shorts on.
Living the dream.
Living the dream. Yeah, keep watching to find out more. Night everybody, catch you in the next one.